Well, here we go. Victor Wembanyama returns to the lineup tonight, and yet again, another yawner of a game. Just an absolute ass beating, which seemingly, has kind of defined the series to some degree, at least for the Minnesota Timberwolves. The Timberwolves snag a 3-2 lead now in this best of seven, the pivotal swing game 5. Generally speaking, throughout the entirety of NBA history, the winners of game 5s in series where it is tied 2-2 generally predict the winner an overwhelming percentage of the time, roughly 96% of the time in these swing situations. So basically now the San Antonio Spurs, 2 opportunities to get that one more win. Of course, they have the safety net of game 7 being played out in San Antonio if they need it. But I really do believe Minnesota's back is firmly against the wall as they travel back home as this venue shifts over to Minnesota for game 6. I think San Antonio would have won this series tonight if Victor Wembanyama was not suspended in game 4. Look, you can make of that what you will. We talked about it a lot in the aftermath of game 4. I made a video about it the day after. I have some strong feelings about how Victor Wembanyama, how that elbow to Naz Reid's side. Look, it wasn't even necessarily to his face now. The more I see that thing slow down, it's like his neck. But anyway, many of you pushed back against me. I thought it should have been a flagrant 1. Many of you seem to believe that a flagrant 2 made sense. Victor Wembanyama played only 12 minutes in that game. They were, I believe, the Spurs down 4 at the time of his ejection. And then realistically, the Spurs controlled that game for the entire third, and 8 of the 12 minutes in the fourth. Really could have won that game even without Victor Wembanyama. But Minnesota wrestled control of it down the stretch. The Spurs tightened up, missed some shots down the stretch that they had been making most of the second half otherwise. So Minnesota escapes with their life in game 4 to split the series. And Victor Wembanyama returns tonight at home in San Antonio. And this series, this game really didn't look all that competitive for the majority of it. It was only a 4-point win of the first quarter for the San Antonio Spurs, 34-30. But then San Antonio started taking control of it in the second. I believe it was a 10 or 12-point game. I think it was 10. San Antonio was up by 10 at halftime. And then they opened up even more breathing room in the third, only to be closed ultimately in the third to a 61-61 game. So Minnesota went on a bit of a run in the middle stanzas of the third quarter and even this to a 61 game. And from there, look, San Antonio just put on the Jets. They never looked back. And again, they beat Minnesota's ass. They end the game after the 61-61 tie. They end the game on a 65-36 run to just, in my estimation, put this series away. 126-97 final tonight, San Antonio. And looking at the outcomes of this series to this point, the 5 games that we've seen thus far, remember, Minnesota won that tight game 1, 104-102. San Antonio had a 3-point shot in the air at the buzzer to win that game. Did not go in. Minnesota wins by 2. Then San Antonio won game 2 to even the series, 133-95. So, I mean, whatever the hell that is, 38-point win. Then San Antonio goes into Minnesota the next game on the road in game 3, 115-108, gets a tight win where Victor Wembanyama outduels Anthony Edwards down the stretch of the fourth. Then, of course, the Victor Wembanyama suspension early in game 4. I think the Spurs probably still should have won that game, even despite the suspension. Some bad plays down the stretch, some really uncharacteristic misses that they had been making most of the game. And Mitch Johnson, Spurs head coach, with a weird small lineup substitution pattern down the stretch, which resulted in giving up Minnesota 5 offensive rebounds in the fourth. That really, I think, was the difference in that one. A tight win for Minnesota, 114-109 in that one. So, the Spurs won one close game, and then they blow the doors off of Minnesota it was 29-9. They won by 38 in the other game. So basically 2 30-point wallopings by the San Antonio Spurs for 2 of their 3 wins, whereas Minnesota just squeaked out 2 kind of lucky wins, quite frankly, in both of theirs. I think this series should already be over. San Antonio has easily proven themselves to be the better team in this series, and Victor Wembanyama has proven himself easily to be the best player in it. Anthony Edwards, who has one of the best deals in all of the sport of basketball. He's got really elite PR, if you ask me. This guy who didn't make his first All-NBA team till his 4th season in the NBA. Now, granted, he came in at 19, but age 22, he was 2nd team All-NBA. He was 2nd team last year then, and he would have been 2nd team this year had he played in 65 games, which he did not. Only appeared in 61 games, thus no eligibility for Ant-Man in year-end awards and team designations, but he would have been 2nd team this year too. So not one single first-team designation, and in my estimation, not even close. He's not even in the vicinity, the sphere of cracking that first team. I mean, still moving forward into next year, Nikola Jokic, Victor Wembanyama, and Shai Gilgeous-Alexander are mortal locks to be first team. Mortal locks. I mean, there's other than them not making eligibility because they don't reach the 65 minimum, though I think the 65 minimum is likely under fire this summer. I think that might be a rule that is being torn down now ultimately because they don't even enforce it. Cade Cunningham and Luka Doncic didn't make it to 65, and yet they both won their appeals to be eligible. So look, if it doesn't matter, if the 65 minimum isn't really a thing, then let's just not even have it anymore. I think they're probably going to remove that stipulation into the offseason now when the rules committee gets together. So anyway, with that said, Yoke, Wemby, SGA, just stencil them in already next year for first team. Then you've got Luka Doncic, who's going to be running around, maybe leading the league in scoring. He'll be top 3 in scoring, top 3 in assists. And if he has a little bit healthier of a season next year, you would think the Lakers, with a better lineup constructed around him, we could talk a little bit about maybe the future of the Los Angeles Lakers later on in the show tonight. Now that their season is officially over. We touched on a bit of that last night, but if you guys weren't here last night, or if you want to talk about it again tonight, I'm here for it. But if you put a somewhat of a better looking lineup around Luka Doncic, you got to imagine he's going to be threatening for a top 3 seed line. First team easy for him as well. Then you've got this Cade Cunningham situation brewing. I think he is a magnificent young player. He has been phenomenal in the postseason. They don't have anywhere near enough around him, at least from an offensive standpoint. Great defensive pieces flanking him, but in terms of offense, really limited pieces around him. I think he's realistically going to be first team for years to come as well. And other young ascending players. I don't know that Anthony Edwards is ever going to make a first team All-NBA, and yet everyone talks about him like he's the face of the NBA, one of the elite best players in the league, and yet every time he's not front running in the playoffs, he's underwhelming. His team is underwhelming. Right now in this postseason, before tonight's game, he had appeared in 8 games, averaging 21.5 points per game on 44% shooting from the field, 2.9 assists. He's not really, that great of a facilitator or involver of his teammates. I mean, if he's not scoring at an elite clip, like realistically, what does this guy do for his team? And he's not shooting or scoring very efficiently or effectively in this postseason. In a game tonight, he shoots 13 times, 6 of 13, 20 points, a -9. Though, look, -9 realistically not that bad for his Minnesota Timberwolves starters. The other starters on the floor tonight, all of them were double-digit negatives, led by Julius Randle, who was just heinous tonight. -22, 17 points on 17 shots for him. The Minnesota Timberwolves, below not good tonight. 39% from the field, 27% from the three-point line. And again, they get absolutely worked by not quite 30, 29-point margin tonight. The Spurs, meanwhile, on the other side, 53% shooting from them, led by Victor Wembanyama, who returned in emphatic fashion tonight from that that game 4 miss. That he missed most of the game, all but the 12 minutes before his ultimate ejection from that game. 27 points for him, 9 of 16, 15 rebounds, 3 blocks, 5 assists. Just a run-of-the-mill stat sheet stuffing game by Victor Wembanyama, who is just an absolute stud right now at 22, the things he's doing in this postseason. Plus 24 for him, a co-lead with De'Aaron Fox, 18 points for Fox. I mean, just a well-balanced scoring effort tonight by the San Antonio Spurs. Castle, again, excellent as always, 17 points on high efficiency, 8 of 11. Vassell adds 12 points. Then, of course, finally, Keldon Johnson getting into the mix. He was the 6th man of the year this year, 21 points for him on 8 of 11. And that's the wild thing about the Spurs team. See, we talk about how absolutely loaded the Oklahoma City Thunder team is, and they are. But so, too, is this San Antonio roster. And they're, quite frankly, arguably, I think, better than Oklahoma City once they mature enough. Remember, these Thunder players now are like 27, all of them for the most part, 25 through 27 now. All of these Spurs players we're seeing right now are basically like 21, 22 years old. That's it. So once they actually get into peak range or like mid-20 range, I think most of these pieces, at least probably 1 through 6, probably better on San Antonio than Oklahoma City moving forward. Now the Thunder have the advantage 1 through 10, and they've got a myriad of draft collateral and assets that they can keep continually retooling with as they go. So feasibly, they are going to remain the deeper team, but San Antonio will be more top heavy. Their starters are better, I think. And probably, look, Keldon Johnson, and while there's elite pieces, and look, when AJ Mitchell goes to the bench, he's probably the best bench player, of course, maybe in the entire NBA. But Dylan Harper is coming. Again, this kid tonight, 12 points on 5 of 10 shooting, plus 13 off the bench in 25 minutes. Keldon Johnson, 6th man of the year winner this year, and probably not their best bench player in my estimation, because that would be Dylan Harper. So 1 through 6 or 7, the Spurs match, if not exceed Oklahoma City, but 1 through 10, Oklahoma City has the advantage, and probably definitely higher end defense on the bench when they go to the bench than San Antonio. But San Antonio, in my estimation, has the best player on the floor when those two teams lock up. So this is going to be a very intriguing and interesting matchup. Perhaps not this year, because San Antonio doesn't quite have what it takes, I think, from a maturation standpoint. I do agree with moderator Gary on that regard. But moving forward into next season, I think the Spurs absolutely can match everything that Oklahoma City can do on the court, and maybe even, look, as early as this upcoming series. Now, anything can happen, if fluky injuries or whatever, but barring some unforeseen injury, I think this series is over, whether it's in Game 6 or Game 7, just a formality. I honestly can see the Spurs go ahead and doing what I projected them to do before the series began. I picked San Antonio in 6, and I can see them getting that, I kind of waffled on in 6 after they lost Game 1 and said 7. But it looks like maybe the Spurs can just go ahead and withhold the sanctity of my pre-series pick and close this thing off next game in Minnesota. Because when the Spurs are when they're all available and fully dialed in, this Minnesota team just looks like they can't get to the level that the Spurs team can get to. Basically, it looks like watching Minnesota at portions of this series, I felt like when I was watching Denver play Minnesota last series, a team in Denver that they quite frankly couldn't match what Minnesota could do. Minnesota can get to a level when they're really dialed in, even missing the players they were missing, that Denver, quite frankly, was incapable of reaching. And now I feel that same way as I'm watching Minnesota try to play San Antonio again, which is crazy because San Antonio is ahead of schedule. A preseason, no one was really anticipating them to be at this point already. Again, most of these kids are just, and I say kids, not as people think that that's a disrespectful term. All right. When I say kid or refer to someone as a kid in a video or whatever, people will oftentimes, some people will take offense to that, like it's some kind of disrespectful term. It, quite frankly, it just is what it is. They are kids. Like I'm an old man now at this point. I'm in my 40s, like Mike Gundy. I'm 40. I'm a man. I mean, I'm as old as LeBron James, for God's sakes. So when someone's 30 at this point, they're a kid to me. Certainly these guys who are 22, 21, 20 years old are kids. So to see them win 62 games this year and run the end of the second half of the season the way they did, ending the regular season 30-4, and primarily have been utterly dominant in the postseason against good teams. Portland was a tough draw for an upper seed, I thought. And if Wemby didn't get concussed, they would have swept them. They beat them in 5 anyway. With Wemanyama missing most of one of the games and all of another game, they still easily win that series 4-1. It would have been 4-0 had he not gotten hurt in that one. And then this one, I think it would have been 4-1. This would have been the closeout tonight had Wemby not got himself ejected early through game 4. So we're talking about, realistically, this Spurs team playing good teams, good opponents, with kids who are 22 or younger, basically, as the principal rotation, other than De'Aaron Fox and Cornette. They should be 8-1 right now in this postseason. We saw what a 25-year-old core roster of the Oklahoma City Thunder last year did. Consistently playing down to their opponents, consistently effing around with games, consistently giving and throwing games away, consistently overextending series, consistently getting taken deep when they shouldn't. Got taken to 7 twice. And that was guys those were guys that were like 25 last year or whatever, 25, 26. Now those guys are 27. These guys are 22 and already have this business workerman-like approach, and they should realistically, in my estimation, be 8-1 in this postseason. We'll see as I talk them up. They'll probably go lay an egg in Minnesota and get pushed back to Game 7 in San Antonio. I don't see it happening. I think the Spurs have ended this series tonight with this demoralizing win. Minnesota just looks like they have not much, not many answers. And I just, I'm looking throughout. They put Ayo Dosunmu in. He was in the starting lineup tonight, 16. 7-14, -20 though for him. I talked about Julius Randle, who's abysmal, -22. Naz Reid, their big bench player, who Keldon Johnson this year, 6th man of the year. Naz Reid was the 6th man of the year, I believe it was 2 years ago. 12 points, 4 of 10 shooting, -21. Just really no answers up and down the lineup right now for Minnesota. I think, look, the Oklahoma City Thunder have passed them by for sure. Now the San Antonio Spurs have passed them by. I think despite the Minnesota Timberwolves' underachievements in the regular season, they are still viably the 3rd best team in the Western Conference, depending on what the Lakers and the Nuggets do this offseason. But that means that Minnesota has to do something this offseason, and I think they know it. They attempted to get Giannis Antetokounmpo from Milwaukee at the trade deadline, and they were really involved in latter stages of trade discussions for several days leading up to the deadline, when ultimately just they could not get anything done. So they really wanted to get Giannis Antetokounmpo. Maybe they will reignite those trade discussions as early as 2 days from now, when I think their season comes to an end and the Giannis sweepstakes is already wide open. As we know, the majority owner there, Haslam, has said he wants Giannis Antetokounmpo's future sorted out by the time the draft happens, which the draft happens, I think, like mid to late June. So 5 weeks away. The sweepstakes are fully open in Minnesota. We'll see if they engage back into those talks. I think they will. They're probably going to kick the tires on a lot of people this offseason, including, in my estimation, Kawhi Leonard. I think that's a sneaky one to keep an eye on in LA and see if he's going to be moved. That wouldn't surprise me if he is. And what's Denver doing? There's maybe look, it would be very odd if Denver and Minnesota would swing some kind of a trade, but I would love to offload Jamal Murray to them, and he could be the secondary scorer, ball handler, and stuff that Anthony Edwards seemingly desperately needs. Because in games like this, he just seems to get lost. Only 13 shot attempts for him tonight, which was the same as Jaden McDaniels, less than Julius Randle, and less than Ayo Dosunmu. You certainly shouldn't have Ayo Dosunmu getting more shots than Anthony Edwards in 6 fewer minutes. So Ayo played 33 minutes, Anthony Edwards 39, and yet Dosunmu shoots one more time than Ant-Man. So a lot of things for Chris Finch to sort through, not a lot of time to do it. And I would be very concerned if I was a Minnesota Timberwolves fan tonight as I am approaching that game 6, because it might just be time for Galveston or Cancun or wherever the hell those teams like to go after they are eliminated from the playoffs. But hey, look, ultimately, Minnesota already won its championship, right? They beat the Denver Nuggets. That seems to be all they really play for, all they get up for every single year. So congratulations, Minnesota. Kudos. And thanks for sticking around for one extra series after that game. All right, look, guys, it is 11:06. Thank God it's an early night tonight because last night, I don't know about you guys and about moderator LaGary right now, who is here. He is on hand. We'll bring Gary in a moment. But that was crazy last night. That game ended at like 1:35. So I didn't get on till like 1:40, and we were on for 3 hours. So, and then I did another video after that. So it has just been a long day. I was on Fearless with Jason Whitlock as well, like I typically am. If you guys didn't see that, you should check it out, because Jason Whitlock, like LaGary, was doing some LeBron, pandering today on his show, which is very unusual because Jason's usually on the other side of it with me. But he was basically largely, I would say, talking pretty favorably about LeBron James, almost wistfully. So, I had to give him some pushback on that. I think it made for a pretty good watch. It was me and Dre Baldwin and Steve Kim were on with a panel of 4. It was a fun watch. You should check out that Jason Whitlock on Fearless. It was pretty close to the top of the show. So I did that as well. So I am just absolutely still kind of dragging. Luckily, it is only 11:07 p.m. on the East Coast of the good old US of A, where me and the moderator Gary are hailing from. And of course, welcoming all of you guys in, about 400 people in here with us right now. Love to see it. Love to have you guys in to the Skap Live After Dark show, where the waters, of course, are always warm. We're about 23 minutes in right now. There's, again, like I said, a couple things we could talk about. We could talk about this game, talk about this series, talk about the next rounds maybe, or the next matchup, or we could talk about the East. We still have one game 1 series going in the East. That's a 2-2 series, the Cleveland Cavaliers and Detroit Pistons. I believe that game is on tomorrow night. So we could talk about any number of those things if you want. We could, of course, also talk about LeBron James, the LA Lakers. Where is LeBron going next? What is he doing? What does his future have in store for him? Realistically, whatever you guys want to talk about. I'm pretty behind on my video production. I'm working on a couple of LeBron videos. Of course, when LeBron goes out, look, I've tapered back my LeBron coverage and my LeBron videos in my never-ending push to become a legitimate just sports channel overall, and not really concentrated or fixated on LeBron, though I am still largely known for that or Kobe Bryant. But I really haven't done much LeBron stuff at all in the last really 2 months. But when LeBron goes out, of course, I'm going to cover that in triplicate. So I'm working on two-ish videos on that. But I also want to get a reaction piece out to that bum, Nick Wrong, who I can't stand this guy. I really can't. LaGary is a Nick Wrong apologist. But I am Gary's looking confused. All right, Gary, I don't want to put words in your mouth. You You think Nick Wright would be a good, fun debater and would make for a good, fun conversation, I think is your thoughts on that, on him. And I'll bring you in a minute, but I saw some comments from him today and it just lit my ass up. I got two LeBron videos for tomorrow, but I got to do a Nick Wright reaction because I saw him talking about how successful LeBron's tenure in Los Angeles was. Go ahead, Gary. I'll let you.
People now are believing you, man. Don't. I am not a Nick Wright apologist. Like Philip Fry's, like, what the fuck, Gary? Like that. They're taking this serious. So you need to let them know you're joking. I'm not a Nick Wright apologist. I said that I think you and him would have a debate and that you two would actually be friends. I like Nick Wright's coverage of the Chiefs and Patrick Mahomes, because I agree with pretty much everything he says. Like, we're talking about Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson, and he's scoffing at that. Like, Colin Cowherd is dropping. Even when the Chiefs were winning Super Bowls, Colin Cowherd's power rankings, the Chiefs would always be like 3 or 4, and Nick Wright would always go on there and make fun of Colin Cowherd's power rankings, which I was in agreement with. I and Nick Wright were the only ones in the media who said that the Chiefs are going to win the Super Bowl the year that Lamar Jackson was MVP and they had to go to Baltimore in the AFC Championship game. You can even look back on my channel. I wrote a post and I said I think experience trumps the MVP today. And that's precisely what happened. They went on and they won the Super Bowl against the Eagles. Not the one they lost, but the one they won. So I said all football season, I was the only one saying, Nick Wright and I were the only ones saying that the Chiefs were going to win the Super Bowl that year and that Mahomes was better than Lamar Jackson. So I said I agreed with this Chiefs coverage. Obviously, I'm totally against his false LeBron BS narrative because I know he's a clunch shill or whatever. I just said that you and him, I think, would actually be a great debate. And I said if he wasn't being paid by Clutch, I think you and him would actually be good friends. That's what I said. I think the guy, I think he had to take that check in order, like you've said yourself, Nick Wright's a hard worker. That's why he got up to where he is. I don't think there's a lot of hard workers that don't ever sniff the success of Nick Wright. He's successful because he's being bought by Clutch. No doubt. I just said if he wasn't bought by Clutch, I think he would be someone that you would be friends with and have debates with because you yourself have said you have a slew of friends who you vehemently debate with, correct? That's why I said I think you and Nick would be like that as well if he wasn't paid by Clutch.
So I think Nick Wright is an idiot and a stooge and a buffoon. That's what I think of him. And I think his takes are egregious and reprehensible by and large, particularly his takes surrounding Kobe Bryant, where he said that Kobe Bryant was never the best player in the NBA. And I see him daisy chain around like who he thought were the actual best players those years. He is an idiot. Like Kobe Bryant.
He doesn't believe that.
Hold on. Kobe Bryant led the NBA in scoring and total points scored for like a 13 or 14 year span of time, where he was also all NBA defense 12 times of those 13 or 14 years. And he went to 7 finals in those 13 or 14 years and won 5 of them. For someone to say that Kobe Bryant was never one time for 1 year the best player in the NBA is so utterly laughable and reprehensible. I don't even know how to speak intelligently to it. There is no way to say anything intelligent about it because it's idiotic and he's a moron. And now today he's at it again, running his fat, stupid mouth, his uneducated, ignorant mouth. And this is the thing that annoys me about him most. He thinks of himself as an intellectual. He fancies himself as this cerebral, intelligent debater that is always in the right, that is always so righteous with his takes. And that's why I would love to get a hold of this guy in studio, not over Skype or Zoom or whatever, or like my computer screen and his in studio. I would just want to undress this guy systematically with his terrible takes. Today it was how successful LeBron James's tenure was with the LA Lakers in 8 years. They won 7 playoff series in 8 years total. 4 of them in that ridiculous bubble tournament that should have never existed. The COVID tournament shut down, or the COVID virus, that pesky global pandemic, shut down the NBA on March 11th, and they didn't resume till July 30th. Like, games didn't start till August. That is 5 months. If you have to shut down the entire NBA season for 5 months and start it when typically, historically speaking, training camps are beginning, guess what you do? Cancel the season. And you just hold over to training camp. So a season that really shouldn't have even existed. LeBron won 4 of his 7 series in a Laker uniform in 8 years. I mean, it's just laughable to suggest that this was any remote semblance of a successful run in Los Angeles. And today he was saying that his run was as good as Giannis and Jokic's have been over their tenures in Milwaukee and Denver. And his justifications of saying that is that, oh, well, LeBron went to 2 conference finals, 1 NBA finals, and won a championship. Oh, that's all Jokic has done in 11 years. That's all Giannis did in 13 years. Okay, riddle me this, moron. How many Anthony Davis level players did Giannis and Jokic have in their tenures? How many Luka Doncic level players did Nikola Jokic and Giannis Antetokounmpo have in their tenures? The one championship that LeBron won, that bubble abomination that I just mentioned, Anthony Davis was very realistically the best player on the Lakers that year. If not, he was certainly a top 5 player league-wide. So if you want to say LeBron and him both were top 5, whatever. But Anthony Davis was top 5. He was NBA 1, NBA Defense 1, NBA Defensive Player of the Year 2, MVP 6. He led the playoffs in scoring and win shares and anchored that defense, which was the reason they won the championship. So when you have a top 5 two-way player and to win your one championship, like, can Jokic and Giannis get a replacement level player at that level? And let's see them easily win a championship too. He had Luka Doncic. Okay, and look, okay, yes, Luka didn't play in these playoffs. He played last year. He was healthy and fully locked and loaded last year. He averaged 30 points per game in the series against the Minnesota Timberwolves for LeBron to win exactly 1 game in the first round. So please, let's not daisy chain this stuff. I can't stand the lack of context that these LeBron stooges and sycophants are gallivanting around the internet today trying to peddle. And he is the principal one. He is like one of the worst of them all. So I got to do a video on that. But like I said, I'm a little backed up. I've got 2 LeBron videos already to supplement the one that I put out yesterday. And then that will likely be it, at least till after the NBA playoffs. So just those 3 videos I'm working on, or the 2 additional videos. And then I got to do that Nick Wright video. But anyway, my whole point about talking about that is I'm a little backed up. So I'm very thankful that we are staring down the barrel, hopefully, of a fairly light night tonight. We are 30, roughly 4 minutes in now at this point. And I don't know, Gary, before we start in, we're going to hit some comments from you guys because I want to see what you've got to say tonight and what direction you want to take it. But before we do that, Gary, I just want to ask, how are you feeling about your Spurs? Are you feeling confident after tonight, or are you still wavering a little bit? Anthony Edwards is healthy. After all, you said you might like them in 7, the Wolves. Do you think that the Wolves have life? Do you think there will be a game 7? Let's just start with that. Let's not even start with, do you like your Spurs now at this point in the series? Do you like the Wolves to extend the series beyond next game in Minnesota?
Unfortunately, I think they will eke out a win in Minnesota. I would love to close out and get the fan base back for what happened last time. But yeah, I think it'll go 7. And yeah, I would definitely think the Spurs would edge them out in 7, is what it appears to me.
I just checked sorry, I just checked. I know you don't. I know you don't care, Gary, but I like to look at these things. The preliminary line is San Antonio favored by 4.5 points in Game 6 in Minnesota to close that out. So that would be every single game now. San Antonio has been favored in that series. So I think that line might actually go up a little bit. I think it will go higher in favor of San Antonio by the time we get underway. I could see that the closing line by tip-off being maybe like 5.5 or 6. But, we'll see. I think, like I said, Minnesota, they've got a lot of talent. And I see people in the chat, in the live chat. I didn't look at any of these super chats, but I've been following along in the live chat. I see people questioning my take on Anthony Edwards. And this is why I say that this guy is just overrated. People are like, he's not top 5. What do you mean he's not top 5, Skap? Of course he's top 5. That's a bad take. Name me 5 guys better than Anthony Edwards. What are you even talking about? This guy's never been first team All-NBA one single isolated time in his entire NBA career. And he's not going to make it. He's not making it this year because he didn't play 65 games. He's not making it this year because he wasn't good enough to be first team All-NBA. Had he played 65, he still wouldn't have been first team. There are guys that should have been first team that aren't going to be first team because they're going to slip to second team because the first team is just too stacked. So that's 6 years now, 6 years for Anthony Edwards in the NBA, never once first team All-NBA. And I don't even have to necessarily make it. The 2 advanced metrics that I look at the most, player efficiency rating and box plus minus, look, they don't encapsulate everything. Advanced analytics don't mean everything. Don't get me wrong. I'm not trying to paint them as a be-all, end-all metric. But look, in BPM, these are the top 4 players. Nikola Jokic, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, Victor Wembanyama, and Luka Doncic in that order. Pretty much the best 4 players in the world in my estimation. So BPM does bear out the best players basically because the 4 best players are the top 4 players in BPM. Let's look in player efficiency rating, shall we? Nikola Jokic, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, Victor Wembanyama, and Luka Doncic. Again, in the same order as BPM. So PER and BPM, the 4 best players in the world are the 4 players in order, maybe in the order that they're actually are ordered in right now, though people can quibble with Shai and Victor Wembanyama placement. The 5th player on both of those lists in BPM and PER is Kawhi Leonard. And then if I just look at BPM and round it out, Cade Cunningham 6th, Tyrese Maxey 7th, Donovan Mitchell 8th, Jalen Duren 9th. You've got, I'm not going to even pretend like LaMelo Ball is above Anthony Edwards, but he does finish marginally above Ant-Man. LaMelo Ball at 4.7 on BPM. Durant and Edwards and Denny Avdia all basically tied next. So Ant-Man is like 12th in BPM. I'm not going to suggest that he's as low as 12th league-wide. He certainly ain't 5th or above, though. I'll tell you that. In player efficiency rating, he is 14th. So, look, who do I think is above Anthony Edwards? Well, definitely those guys I've named. Nikola Jokic, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, Victor Wembanyama, Luka Doncic, Cade Cunningham. Because of the age of Kawhi Leonard and the inavailability and the concern about his health, I would put Anthony Edwards above Kawhi Leonard. But I would personally, look, I think Jaylen Brown had a better year this year than Anthony Edwards. It's close. You can make a case for either, but I personally would take Jaylen Brown. So, look, anywhere between 6 to 8 players, I would say, are feasibly and realistically above Anthony Edwards. He's anywhere between 7 to 9 league-wide. That's not being disrespectful. But what's wild to me is people walk around like he's like one of the 2 or 3 best players in the NBA, or that he's the face of the NBA. He's not. And he's not even that valuable to his team, by the way. Anthony Edwards, his on-offs are completely and totally underwhelming. I'm looking at the last 3 years now of sample size data. 3 years. I'm looking at on-offs, which to me actually do paint the whole picture, unlike the advanced analytics, or even the standard box. The standard box stats lie. Advanced analytics can be manipulated as well. But the on-offs typically do not lie, and they never do. The on-offs and the net swings. On-offs, let me just explain it to you. I try to explain this in my videos and in these live sessions, and I still feel as if I'm being lost, or my message or my explanation is still too confusing. On-offs take into account every single second these players are on the floor all year long. So like how many ever minutes that these players are playing. And in fact, let me just see exactly. So Anthony Edwards, 3 years ago in 2023, 2024, he was on the court. He played for 2,772 minutes. And he was off the court for 1,192 minutes. So roughly 2,800 minutes on and 1,200 minutes off. That's not a small sample size, guys. That's a very large, significant, impactful sample size. Now, on-offs measure both sides of the floor, and it determines how many points your team scores when you're on the court, how many points your team allows defensively when you're on the court. And then, guess what? It factors off how your team scores and how your team defends with you off the court. And then the on-off then aggregates every single second spent on and off, and it takes the differential between how your team is with you on and off, and it provides how many points you provide or take away on offense and defense for your team. You can even then add together the points you add and the points you take away on offense and defense to get one final total overall number of how many points per 100 possessions, which an NBA basketball game this year is roughly 101 possessions. So this is essentially per game. So how many points per game, basically, are you adding or taking away from your team? Let's look at the last 3 years for Anthony Edwards, shall we? In 2023, 2024, he added plus 2.8 in the regular season. In the playoffs, he added 1.4. By the way, that 2023, 2024 year was the year that the Minnesota Timberwolves beat the Denver Nuggets in the second round in 7. And this outrageous narrative started percolating around like Anthony Edwards owns Nikola Jokic. Anthony Edwards is better than Nikola Jokic. Let's just check out what Nikola Jokic did that season in 2023, 2024 in the regular season in the playoffs, shall we? Just to put some kind of context on what I'm talking about, what I'm detailing with Anthony Edwards. In the regular season that year in 2023, 2024, Nikola Jokic was plus 20. Plus 20. So that's offense and defense added in together. Plus 20. And actually, he was plus 16 on offense, and he was improving his defense by 4. So he was actually bettering his defense by 4 for a total plus 20 in the regular season. Again, Anthony Edwards that year, plus 2.8. Mediocre, modest. Nikola Jokic, impactful, MVP. In the postseason, where Anthony Edwards owned Nikola Jokic, 1.4, plus 1.4 for Ant-Man. Jokic in the playoffs that year, plus 21. So get out of here with your ridiculous, outrageous, crafted narratives. You clearly don't understand what you're talking about. Anyway, let's drop Nikola Jokic and stay with Anthony Edwards, shall we? So mediocre in 2023, 2024. The next year in 2024, 2025, last season, his on-offs. During the regular season, minus 1.3. His team literally better without him. He played in 2,800 minutes, and he did not play in 1,100 minutes. So all of those aggregated out, his team got worse by 1.3 points per 100 possessions. Into the playoffs, he was at least a positive, plus 2.5, but again, mediocre. Now let's take a look at this very season right now, shall we? Minus 0.2 tenths of a point in the regular season, so a net negative, and minus 15 in the playoffs going into tonight. How does that taste? How does that grab you? Minus 15. So, I mean, I'm looking at the box stats. I'm looking at the advanced stats. I'm looking at his value impact metrics. I think 6 or 7 is actually pretty generous. I would say realistically, I can make a case that Anthony Edwards is closer to 10 than 5. So for everybody out there in the chat saying, bad take on Ant-Man, Jay, or bad take, Skap, bad take on it. No, you've got the bad take. Your lying eyes, just simply, I'm telling you, your lying eye, you're probably not even watching. I would say that you're just listening to your lying eye test, but you're probably not even watching. You're just watching highlights, or you just want to believe what social media tells you. Anthony Edwards is one of the most overrated players in the NBA today. Not because he's bad or he stinks or he sucks, because he's like the 7th or 8th best player in the NBA, and people think he's the 1st or 2nd best player in the NBA. Okay, anyway. Sorry, I wanted to address that because everybody's just really running their mouths about Anthony Edwards that I see on here. He's just seriously, yes. I just saw known unknown tier 2. Correct. He's tier 2. Like, he's a great player. I think he's going to be a consistent, perennial second-team All-NBA performer throughout the course of his NBA career. Like, somewhere between 5 to 10 league-wide for his entire NBA career. He just simply can't get above that. Like, when I look at Nikola Jokic has like 3 or 4 more years on the first team. Like, Shea's got 5, 6, 7 years on the first team. Wemby's got 12 years on the first. Like, Cooper Flagg is coming. Like, look at what Cooper Flagg did statistically this year at 19. Like, he's going to have a Luka Doncic type jump statistically. Luka Doncic is only 27. Like, these players aren't going anywhere. So it's no disrespect. It's like with LeBron James, when people get all outside of themselves and in their feelings because, oh my God, how dare you say that LeBron isn't the GOAT or isn't top 2 or isn't at the very least Mount Rushmore. Well, I'm sorry, but there's a lot of good players in the NBA throughout NBA history, just like there's a lot of good players right now in circa 2026. Like, saying that someone's not top 5 is no disrespect. It's just a feasible, realistic take and putting him where he actually belongs. So that's basically where I stand. Why do you have Luka? Wait, okay. Before we're going to get into some of these comments, but I'm still in here. I'm still in these. Why do you have Luka so high? Zape style. I'm just reading some of these. Why do I have Luka so high? Does defense matter? Again, let's check out the defense this year, the defensive impact numbers this year. Anthony Edwards this year, while on the court, every second that he was on versus off, the Minnesota Timberwolves defense got 5 points worse with him on the floor. They were 5 points better without him. When he was on the floor, they gave up 116 per game. That's a little bit below league-wide average. 116 per game would be like 20th league-wide. When he was on the bench or hurt this year, they gave up 110 a game. That would be upper echelon. That would be like top 3rd in the league. So absolutely, positively worse, markedly worse with him on the floor. So there's this expectation that like certain guys are great defenders, but nothing really bears that out. No actual tangible evidence bears that out. It's the same with Nikola Jokic being a terrible defender. He's actually a net positive on defense, like he has been for years. He's a lousy rim defender, lousy. But guess what? They defend the rim worse when he's off the floor. They're better with him defending the rim than anybody else on that team this year and in the playoffs. And he does other things really well. He's always at the upper end of the league averages in deflections and steals. And he obviously controls the defensive glass. He's a very good pick and roll player. He defends screens very well. He's an intelligent defender. He calls out their defensive assignments most often. And accordingly, they are better with him on than off. Anthony Edwards, though, everyone thinks he's this elite two-way player. He's not. He hurts them by a lot when he's on defense. And again, look at the playoffs. Same deal. It's not as bad as the regular season, but they're 3 points better when he's not on the floor. So let's take a look at Luka Doncic this year. Shall we? Let's see what the actual numbers are saying and not your lying eyes and your feelings and what social media is telling you. On defense with Luka Doncic on the court, they give up 117 per game. When he's off the court, 116. So 0.9, 9/10 of a point. They're worse. So he makes the defense worse by 1/10 of a point, whereas Ant-Man makes his defense worse by 5 full points. So Luka Doncic is a significantly better offensive player than Anthony Edwards. Significantly. Anthony Edwards averages like 3 assists a game. 3-4 assists a game. Luka Doncic is third in the NBA in assists while leading the league in scoring. Significantly better. So Ant-Man would have to be a pretty tangible and marked defensive swing to be able to neutralize that advantage over Luka Doncic that Luka has in offense. However, that ain't the case, unfortunately for you and Ant-Man, because Luka Doncic is actually better defensively than Anthony Edwards. At least he's more valuable and more impactful on that side of the floor for his team. That results in a tangible amount of evidence than Anthony Edwards. So, yes, defense matters, but Ant-Man ain't playing it. I know you think that he is, but he's not. I know you think because you see highlights for 2 minutes of him pounding his chest and picking someone up full court or making a sexy steal or a block. You think that he's a two-way player, but he's not. He's really hiding all season long and not playing hard on defense and focusing and concentrating solely on offense. And he still isn't even better on offense than Luka Doncic. And it's not even close, quite frankly. So Ant-Man is drastically overrated. And I know that he is because I'm looking at some of these comments and these reactions in here with the pushback that you're giving me. I'm saying that he's 7th or 8th league-wide, and I'm getting pushback on that somehow. Like, what are you talking about? Like, that's generous. I think 7th or 8th is generous. You can make a case he's not top 10 when you factor in his immaturity, his lousy leadership, and the fact that he completely phones it in when he's not front-running his ass off against inferior teams. So I don't know, guys. I'm confused by it all myself.
Well, what about his performance in Game 1 against the Spurs on that bad knee and the heart that he has shown in this series and going out there when guys like Jason Tatum won't even suit up for a Game 7? See, do you think higher of Jason Tatum than Ant? Because I'm sorry, Jason Tatum, I'm going to watch my mouth. I'm not going to say the word I just thought. I'm going to say he's a wuss. I'm going to say, I'm sorry, there's no excuse. And you at least give it a go for Game 7. You see Anthony Edwards in Game 1 came out and played his heart out with a bad knee. Well, actually 2 bad knees. What do you think about that? I think that has to matter.
I think that I would never anticipate someone else's pain level or pain threshold or pain tolerance or ability to rehab and recover from injuries. I think that Anthony Edwards has he has LeBron-like durability and regeneration abilities. He is a insane freak physical specimen, athletic meter off the charts, and I think he heals extremely quickly from things. I think that. And I think Jason Tatum just went out and did show heart last year in the playoffs and played through an injury and exploded his Achilles tendon. So I think that may be factored into. And by the way, Gary, I didn't mention Jason Tatum's name in the people that I list above Anthony Edwards right now. So I did not name him. But from a historic standpoint, from a career standpoint, there's no doubt about it, Jason Tatum. I don't think, because I don't know what he is from a health standpoint moving forward, how depreciated he's going to be from that Achilles rupture moving forward. But from what we've seen, his career highs are much higher than Anthony Edwards. Jason Tatum made 4 consecutive first-team All-NBA selections, deservingly so. So he was a top 5 player in the NBA for 4 years. Anthony Edwards has never sniffed top 5 status, not 1 year. Like that shit that I was talking about that Nick Wrong peddles about Kobe, how he was never the best player in the NBA, total and undeniable lies. But I will say that Anthony Edwards certainly has never been a top 5 player. I will confidently say that, and I can confidently defend that premise pretty fairly easily. Speaking of Nick Wright, we're going to start in on these comments here. We got a bunch of them queued up already. We're at about an hour mark, but I did just see a hefty one come in from my guy, Stefan Piscano. Thank you very much, my friend. Shout out to you. Shout out to Vacation Wealth Partners, your continued generosity and support of the Skap Live After Dark, but also just being in all my comments and, being actively involved with most of my videos, basically from a day-to-day basis. Very much appreciated. I just wanted to hop in here because this is a very generous donation. So I wanted to give you a shout out and grab this question. Also because I just mentioned Nick Wright again, and this is about Nick Wrong. So, and he actually says Nick Wrong in it. So Gary, go ahead with this question or comment from Stefan about Nick Wrong.
Let Nick Wrong know the Lakers averaged 44 wins per season in his historic 8 seasons of mediocrity, chaos, and horse crap. After Skap makes Nick cry on the debate stage, I would make him make me a sandwich. Guy looks like a cracked out Willy Wonka.
Yeah, I've never been a big fan of Nick Wrong. I saw him talking his idiocy like years ago. It was following I believe the 2016 NBA Finals. And I saw he was on with like Chris Carter. He was on FS1. He's been on FS1 for years. He's only like 43 or 44 years old. He's only like a year or two older than me. Or maybe even he's about closer to the same age as me. But he's been on FS1 for years. And I remember seeing a clip of him talking to Chris Carter, who I think Chris Carter is also a LeBron jock sniffer, if I'm not wrong. But they were talking about LeBron after the 2016 finals. And just like LeBron thought he was the GOAT after 2016, so too did Nick Wrong. So Nick Wrong's been peddling LeBron as the GOAT for a full decade now. And obviously he's going to go to whatever levels and mental gymnastic hurdles that he wants to try to reach in order to, try to make that outrageous case and claim. But he's an absolute Kobe Bryant hater. He is absolutely peddling the clutch sports paychecks. And he sold out obviously for the clutch pay because there are screen grabs, my man. Like, Nick, do you not realize the internet is inked in stone? There are Twitter or whatever X, back when he did it, they were Twitter. There are Twitter posts of him saying the best basketball player he ever saw. Now, of course, this was back in 2013 or 14. So fine, whatever. Do you think LeBron's hopped Kobe in that time, in the time that's elapsed between then and now? But he had Michael Jordan at 1, Kobe Bryant at 2, and a couple other players, and then LeBron back in like 2013 or something like that. 2012, 2013. Now fast forward to 2026, LeBron is 1 and Kobe's like 8 or 9 somehow. Like, I get if you think Kobe hopped him between then and now, but none of these other cats that he has above Kobe now have played any bit of basketball in between. So how is it that back in 2012, you had Kobe at 2 all time on your list, and now he's 9th? And the guys that have been retired for 40 years are the ones that have passed him. It's because he's a complete sellout and a fraud and a sham, and he's cashed the clutch paychecks. And it doesn't just entail uplifting the fraud king LeBron. It also means denigrating and disparaging Kobe Bryant and trying to wipe out his legacy, because realistically, LeBron never caught Kobe in the same era. So how could he get to Mike if he didn't even get past Kobe? So I would love, Stefan, trust me, nothing more. Like, one of my biggest goals in life is to get in studio with Nick Wrong. And look, I can be pretty offensive and so forth when I'm on my platform or when I'm making videos about him. And I could do some name calling, not super offensive names, just like idiot, stooge, moron. Because I'm casting stones. I'm throwing rocks at a big fish, right? Like he's a guy that is like kind of unreachable for me. But I would be obviously just complete class and refinement if I got into studio with him. There would be no name calling or divisiveness. I would just simply dissect his putrid basketball takes and reveal him to be the fraudulent money grubber that he is for Clutch Sports and destroy his extremely incorrect takes on Kobe and LeBron James. So that is something that I would love to do. And he is, to your point also, Stephen, a very odd looking individual. There's no doubt about that. All right, let's get in here with Stanky 2304 next. Stanky, welcome to Skap Live After Dark. We're at the hour point now. So yeah, I definitely want to see which direction you guys want to take it now with your comments and really dig into these. Gary, go ahead with Stanky 2304 and welcome in Stanky. Thanks for being here.
Gary always copping out answers. San Antonio Spurs are 60-plus win team and a contender. This year does matter. Don't make excuses for them. You can't have it both ways.
So look, I get Gary is talking as a fan of the Spurs. So like he is just happy that after a 9-year hiatus from winning playoff series, that his Spurs team are not only back, they are back on the precipice of a dynastic foothold or stronghold, I should say, in the NBA. And he is playing in his estimation, he's playing with house money this year. And I understand that outlook. I do. Victor Wemanyama is 22 years old. Everybody else is 20, 21, 22, whatever. I get it. Like, so what happens this year? I've got 10 years of them competing for championships. And it does make sense. And I'm not attacking Gary here with my stance here. But my stance is I do just want to maximize every year because you never know. Like, quite frankly, you just never know, right? Like, Nikola Jokic won the league MVP when he was 25 and didn't have Jamal Murray for an entire playoff run. Wasted year of his prime. Well, who cares? It's just 1 year. I mean, he's 25. He's probably got many years to go competing. And then the very next year, Jamal Murray was still out for the entire postseason run as Jokic won his second MVP in a row. And then Michael Porter Jr. went out midseason or early season, actually, and he missed the whole year. He played like 6 games, didn't play a single game in the playoffs either. So a second year in a row of Jokic's prime with an MVP where he was without Jamal Murray and Michael Porter Jr. Then Jamal Murray comes back the next year. They win the NBA championship. Awesome. Like, great. Like, next year, they're probably going to win the championship again. But Jamal Murray was hurt, and he played like shit. And they lost in Game 7 to the Minnesota Timberwolves. And Jamal Murray was just a shell of himself. Oh, well, who cares? Like, just a year. Like, we'll get it back next year. We're going to be healthy next year for sure and get them. And then the Thunder super team emerges. But still, the Nuggets look like they're right there. But then, oh, what happens? Aaron Gordon pops his hamstring in Game 6. And they lose Game 7. Oh, well, that's okay. We'll get it back next year. We'll be better next. We'll be healthy next year. And so they did. Fire out of the gates. They were 13-3 or 13-2 or something like that. Best net rating in the NBA. Top 3 net rating on defense. Jokic is looking like he's his best year yet. And then the entire team implodes due to injury, including Nikola Jokic himself. And then nobody was healthy in the playoffs. And now here we are. Jokic is going to be 32 next year. So at 25, the world is your oyster, and there are limitless possibilities of championships and runs and times to win and maximize peaks and primes and to add up your rings and to build your case. And now all of a sudden you blink your eye and the Nuggets really had 1 year from Jokic 25 to 32 where they had a legit shot and a look. Thank God he got that one. He maximized that one chance. But like things look good at a point, and then Objects in the mirror are closer than they appear all of a sudden, and it just gets away from you. Like Dan Marino, who started a Super Bowl when he was in his second year in the NFL with unlimited talent, potential, and ability. And he lost that game, but who cares? He'll be back many times. Not one return, never. Aaron Rodgers, 31 years old, one of the best Super Bowls I've ever seen him play against my Pittsburgh Steelers. Won the Super Bowl at 31, was the MVP the next season, won 15 games back when they still only played 16. He'll be back many times. Aaron Rodgers never been back to a Super Bowl. Now, look, football is different than basketball. And it's easier. It's easier to front run from the top in the NBA. Like in the NFL, it's lucky shit that happens, even for the elite teams. In the NBA, if you've really got, the Spurs have one of the two best teams in the NBA. It's hard to deny or reject that kind of talent. But I'm just saying, I understand Gary's premise for sure. But I also, me being the eternal, Gary's more of an optimist, though. I'm an eternal pessimist. So me with my glass perpetually half full, I'm looking at like, well, I don't want to waste this opportunity, though. Sure, they have many, many chances to come down the pike. But like to Stanky's point, 62 wins, second most wins in the NBA, only 2 wins behind the Thunder, had the best net rating by far the second half of the year, way better than the Thunder, beat the Thunder 4 times out of 5 head-to-head this season. So like I'm looking at it, I'm like, why not us? Why not now? So I'm not picking on Gary, and I do understand where he's coming from. But at the same time, I am more on Stanky's side of the spectrum here, and I want them to start capitalizing and winning immediately. Gary, does that make sense to you a little bit where I'm coming from? I know where you're coming from. Do you understand where I'm coming from, though, on it?
I do, but it doesn't matter. OKC is going to railroad everyone. OKC is going to repeat. I am not going to allow my brain or my heart to have a semblance of hope that the Spurs are somehow going to dethrone OKC this year. It's not going to happen. I don't know how you guys feel when your team loses, but when your heart is open and you believe, that shit stings when your team loses. I know that it really shouldn't. Mature, well-balanced adults shouldn't be that affected by sports, but this shit stings when you actually believe that your team has a legit shot to win. So in 1995, when the Spurs were 62-20 and went to the Western Conference Finals and were close to their first finals trip, and I believed we're the best team, we're the best team, we're the best team, and this guy named Hakeem Olajuwon beat the shit out of David Robinson, the MVP that year, I was heartbroken. I was devastated. Fast forward to 2013. Spurs go up 3-2 on the Miami Heat. I wasn't even upset when they lost because I never allowed myself to believe they were going to win that championship. And actually in 2014, I did the same thing. I said, no way the refs are going to allow the Heat to lose to the Spurs.
Gary, wait, let me stop you for 1 second. And then let me ask you
I was almost
question.
done. I had one last sentence and,
Okay.
and then say whatever. And then, surprisingly to me, because I thought the refs were going to give the series to the Heat the same way they did in 2012. So when the Spurs won, I was still elated. I was happy, but had they lost, I would have been protected. That's my point.
So the only question I wanted to ask you was, it's ironic, though, that you're the exact opposite with what you're detailing. You're the exact opposite when you're talking about my team with me, my Nuggets, who I talk about consistently all year, how they have no chance to compete at all. And every year in and year out, you're like, oh, no, come on. You got to be optimistic here. Jamal Murray, he's got that heart, that clutch. Aaron Gordon will be healthy this year. If they put it all together, they could win the championship. But they never do, though, Gary.
No. First of all, to clarify, I'm not optimistic. I'm neutral and objective. That is grounded. being overly optimistic or overly pessimistic, either way, it's annoying because you're distorting reality either way. Let's be objective and let's be realistic. I'm not saying the Spurs have 0% chance that it's impossible that they could upset OKC, but I'm saying I don't believe it. But and I believe that's me being neutral and being grounded based on the evidence that I've seen throughout the season and in the last 2 seasons with OKC. They're better now. They got Jared McCain. They got another draft pick. They're more experienced. SGA is just going out there looking like an MVP. Him and slash Jokic, because I do think Jokic is better. Anyways, I didn't say, hey, bro, you gotta have faith. I don't talk like that about sports. What I said, you are wrong, Jay, that if the Nuggets are healthy, I said the reason they're losing is because of health, not because they're a bad roster. That's what I said. I stand by that. The Nuggets, if Aaron Gordon was healthy, if Peyton Watson was healthy, and if Jamal Murray was consistent, they would have beat the shit out of the Wolves round 1. I stand by that. I'm not being optimistic. I'm just saying the roster's good when healthy.
Let me jump in here because I'm just calling it too the way it is. I'm not. People think I'm pessimistic, but I think I'm more just a realist. Even with the Nuggets at full health, that the fundamental philosophy of which their team was built on is flawed. They have the greatest offensive engine of the 21st century. I'm not going to predate the 2000s anymore with this. And I don't want to really get into Jokic historical comps. He is the best offensive engine since 2000, basically. I think Kobe is the greatest scorer. But in terms of the scoring dynamic, and Kobe's a better player because he actually is an elite two-way player who is the best scorer of this century. But in terms of the things Jokic can do, the ability for him to score at 3 levels, the way he uplifts all of his teammates and gets everybody involved, they should have never put offensively oriented players around him, ever. The whole premise should have been from the very get-go, let's put raw athletes, defensive athletes around him and just let him make them good on offense. Instead, they took a whole bunch of offensively oriented players and said, let's hope that they could play a little bit good enough defense to make it through playoff runs. Like that's a fundamentally flawed aspect of team building. And it's really blown up in their faces because teams did build it the way I said they should have built it around the Nuggets. That is how the Thunder are built. That is how the Spurs are built. So like the fact that that is how the Detroit Pistons are built. So like the fact that they have those teams, those foils are out there, it's almost would have been, even if the Nuggets got to be healthy, they probably would have ended up losing in game 7 again to either. They would have had to beat Minnesota, San Antonio, and Oklahoma City in 3 straight series, 4 times each. That wasn't going to happen. Even if they were healthy, they likely would have got it to a game 7 against one of those 3 teams and lost the game 7. When I watch the Spurs, though, I don't like, when I'm watching the Nuggets, it's not just because I'm a fan of the Nuggets, because I'm rooting for the Spurs now. So I'm a fan of the Spurs right now. But like, I just feel a total sense of, I would say, unease, pessimism, and just uneasiness is pretty much the way that I would say, because I know the Nuggets are holding on for dear life every game. Like they have to hope their offense doesn't vanish in the face of these elite defenses, and then that their subpar, mediocre defenses can do something against offenses that are probably closer to their offense than their defense is to the other team's defense. When I watch the Spurs, though, I see a team that is typically at the advantage. Like the Oklahoma City Thunder, Gary, I don't think that they have been an underdog in 2 full postseasons now at this point. I think that they were favored in every single game they played last year in the playoffs. And I think that they've been favored in every single game this year so far in the playoffs. That's not going to be the case next round if they draw the Spurs. The Spurs will be favored in all of their home games next round. So like, it's not like the Spurs are punching up on the Thunder. The only reason we're talking about a reality where the Thunder should realistically and likely will beat the Spurs is only because of an advantage, a discrepancy in terms of like their knowledge, understanding, know-how, experience. They have an experience gap right now because they went through a full title run last year, and they're just 4 or 5 years older than all these Spurs. The experience gap is really the only advantage right now that I see for the Thunder. So like the Spurs will take games from them, and the Thunder will feel them next round. Like it's not going to be, if the Thunder win, and I think they will, they're going to earn it. Like they're not just going to sleepwalk through 6 or 7 games like they've done a couple times last year. They're going to actually have to play an A game 4 times to beat San Antonio, I think, which is rare that a team can push them like that. So
absolutely, the Spurs are going to make them sweat for sure. But the last 2 times they played, see, this is what people don't realize. The last 2 times they played, the Spurs beat them the first 3 games, yes. And I was happy to see that. And that gives me hope that they will be able to dethrone that dynasty at some point. But the 4th time they played, OKC annihilated them. And the 5th time they played, SGA wasn't playing, and the Spurs barely damn won that game with no SGA. So no, the Spurs are not ready to beat OKC. They barely beat them with no SGA the last game.
Well, Gary, again, I need to question. I talked about Anthony Edwards on-offs in the playoffs this year so far. I want to touch on Shai Gilgeous-Alexander's on-offs real quick in the playoffs this year. How does minus 19.2 grab you? Like, I just crushed Anthony Edwards for being minus 15. Anthony Edwards plus minus, or Shai Gilgeous-Alexander's plus minus in 2 full rounds of NBA basketball right now in the postseason is minus 19.3. That is insane.
I don't understand that. How's that happen?
Well, let me break it down for you, Gary. Shai has been on the floor for 270 minutes in the playoffs. He's been off the floor for 106 minutes in the playoffs. While he is on the floor offensively, the team is roughly 5 points better when he's off the floor. They score 132 points per one. Look, these are outrageous O ratings. With him on the floor, they're a 127 O rating per 100 possessions. Outrageous. But without him, they're 132 per 100. And then on defense, that's the big difference. They are much better without Shai. Much better without him on the floor. With Shai on the floor, only a 114. Like, that's bottom third in these playoffs. When Shai is off the floor, though, 100 points per 100 possessions, which would be top 2.
Okay, so let me ask you this. Are you saying that when OKC plays the Spurs in the next round, are you saying that a Trump move for the coach would be, you know what, we're going to bench SGA this series because we're better without him? Coach Skap, if you're coaching the Thunder, how many minutes a game are you going to play SGA? Are you going to bench him? Or are you going to put him as a 6-man? Or are you going to play him full minutes?
Obviously, Gary, just like with Anthony Edwards, who's a minus 15, you have to play your best players. You have to.
Well, then it doesn't seem that stat means much if you still think you should play him.
You have to play, Gary, you have to play your first team All-NBA performer.
But you're better without him. You just said the stats prove that OKC is better without SGA. So why would you play someone who's going to be worse?
They are. That's what I'm telling you. These numbers are not there. These aren't guesswork or speculation. There's 270 minutes that we've seen Shai on the floor in the postseason and 110 that we've seen him off. And they are startlingly better without him. Now, yes, some of that, factors in that who are these players playing against? Shea is playing against starter players while the bench players are playing against bench players. But that's part of the Thunder's advantage. The fact that their bench players are so much better than the other team's bench players. That's part of what I'm talking about as to why Shea isn't shit and isn't the MVP. Like, he's a great player, but the reason why he ain't close to the MVP is because the ask is so minuscule and so easy for this guy. And even when he is getting outplayed by the other team starters, which he has been all postseason, resoundingly, his bench is getting it all back. So, of course, look, last night he showed his value, of course. Last night he won them that game. Him and A.J. Mitchell, by the way. A.J. Mitchell was better than Shai Gilgeous-Alexander for 4 games in that series against the Lakers. He was the best player on the team. But Shai showed down the stretch why he is so great. But, again, it's an easy ask. Like, with as bad as he's played all series, like, he should be in a tight game 7, basically. But he's not, because he's up. His bench is obliterating people, just slaughtering people when he's off the floor. And then he just comes back, sauntering back in a tie game that, like, or they're up 15 or whatever. Like, they're down when Shai's on the floor. And then when Shai gets back on the floor after a bench stint, they're up 10 because his bench slaughters everybody. It's just such an unfair advantage for him. And the fact that he's going to reap the benefits on like 3 or 4 league MVPs on the strength of this team, it really is unfortunate. But like, that's the reality of where we're living right now, Gary, and the point in time we're at in NBA history. Victor Wembanyama to me is more valuable than Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, because he is so impactful on the defense. He rises the defensive floor so high for them that there is a marked tangible difference when he's not on the floor on that side. Now, offensively, the Spurs are an elite offense even without Wemanyama. Like, he really doesn't add much to them, quite frankly. So, but defensively. Now, Shai, on the other hand, he adds a lot. When they get bogged down in the half court, they do rely and lean heavily on him. Defensively, I'm telling you, he is a negative on defense, big time, which is another example of, like, he's another one. He's another one like Anthony Edwards. Oh, what a two-way play. What a great two-way player. Shit, what are you talking about? He doesn't play defense at all. He just focuses on offense and rests on offense and gets tons of time on the bench resting while his bench is obliterating other teams. And then he's hurting them every time he's on the floor defensively, not because he's necessarily lousy on defense, but because everybody else, there's like 4 or 5 other perimeter defenders better than him on that team. He doesn't have to do anything on defense. So, like, there's just this crazy narrative that has been built up around certain players because I don't know why. Whatever reason. Oh, they make a flashy steal or like a block, or they play like 2 minutes of concerted defense and people think they're an elite two-way player. Shai very well does have the ability to be a great defensive player, but he doesn't use it. He's not, because he's resting and playing only on offense. And why not? Like, he is the primary offensive engine. But, like, how easy would it be for Nikola Jokic if he didn't? Nikola Jokic has to bust his ass all game on defense and then also score 30 points on 60% shooting and get 12 assists and get everybody else involved. Like, how easy would it be for Jokic if he just had a defensive roster built around him and he just had to play 33 minutes a game, not 40, 42 minutes a game. And then he didn't have to worry at all about anything on defense. Well, it looks a lot different. So that's why it's people, and these on-offs and the net swings really do bear it out, Gary. I know you're making fun or trying to pick fun at it, but like when the Oklahoma City Thunder are like the 5th or 6th best net rated team this year in all non-Shai minutes, and the Nuggets are like the 21st or 2nd best net rated team in non-Jokic minutes, like that's why like he can't compete with them. It's not because Shai is better than Jokic or more valuable than Jokic. It's because the Nuggets are like a -5 or like -4 net rating without Jokic on the floor, and the Thunder are like a +5 without Shea. And Victor Wembanyama is right in the middle. Like, his team isn't as good as Shea's without him, but it's way better than Jokic's. Like, Wemby's was like a +1, I think. Spurs were like a +1 net rating this year without Wemby, and like whatever, a plus. So their plus ratings with them on. Shea was outrageous, like +16. Wemby was like +11, and Jokic was like +9. But Wemby was like +1 with Spurs were +1 without Wemby. The Nuggets were like -4 without Jokic, and the Thunder were like +5 or 6 without Shea. So like, yeah, the net ratings look like Shea and Wemby had better net ratings than Jokic, but that's because their teams are so much better. Like, and that is shown in the playoffs. Then when you play those teams, and in the non-minutes, these guys are just getting Jokic. His teams are just getting eviscerated in the playoffs every single year. So like, yes, you play Shea, Gary. Yes, of course you do. But they have been a lot better without him this year in the playoffs. These numbers don't lie, Gary. It's over 100 minutes of sample without him in 8 games.
The numbers are misleading, though, because they don't take into account intangibles, effort, the effort you play, like when you dive for loose balls, when you contend with someone. If Shea is double teamed by the defense or something, those things aren't taken into account on the plus minus. They're a good metric to look at, but they don't tell the whole tale. You just said, I think you contradicted yourself. You said, Gary, the numbers don't lie. Of course you play SGA, but they're better when he's not playing. That's a contradiction.
Gary, what are you talking about? The guy's an MVP of the league. I don't think he's the MVP.
Then the numbers do lie. Right. Then
he's talking, Gary, he's first team All-NBA. Of course you play him.
Right.
What are you talking about?
But you just said that they're better without him based on the numbers.
Because they are, Gary.
Then the numbers lie.
In the playoffs, they
He's
are.
the MVP of the league. How does he make his team worse if he's the most valuable player in the league? Or second, because we know Jokic is better. We know Jokic is better. Let's just call him the second best player, the second most valuable player in the league. That's what I'm saying. I'm saying the numbers actually can mislead, is my point.
Gary, -20 isn't misleading. If this was like a net even for Shea, then you could say that's misleading. The fact that it is -20 is not misleading. The Oklahoma City Thunder are better without him on the floor in the playoffs, Gary. That doesn't mean that because of 100 minutes of sample size in the postseason that you just decide you're going to bench your first team All-NBA performer for 2 years in a row and play him spot minutes off the bench. Are you out of your fucking mind? Of course that's not what I'm saying. But it does show how easy of a job Shea has, how easy of an ask it is for him. That he is literally a -19 in the playoffs this year, and he hasn't lost a game. That's a pretty big statement.
I agree his job is easy. All I'm saying is no way in hell do I believe OKC is better without SGA, in spite of what the plus minus says. No way. The Spurs would smoke OKC if SGA wasn't playing in the Western Conference Finals.
Nikola Jokic in the regular season this year had one of his worst on-offs of the last 5 or 6 years, which was plus 13.5, which is still significantly better than Shai Gilgeous-Alexander's in the regular season. In the playoffs, Jokic had a very, very meager plus 3.5 for him. But you want to know what's misleading about that is how bad his supporting cast was. That's what's misleading about it. Because Jamal Murray, who is going to be All-NBA third team this year, who is an All-Star this year, who is the undisputed second best player on that team this year, who many believe is a top 20 player in the NBA right now. And in fact, He will be considered that when he makes all NBA third team because he will be top 15 in the postseason this year. Jamal, keep in mind Nikola Jokic is 3 on off, +3. Jamal Murray, who played a ton of minutes with Jokic, was -11. So those guys played a lot of overlapping minutes, Gary. And yet Nikola Jokic was +3 and Jamal Murray was -11. You see, that's why Jokic's on-offs are so shitty for the playoffs, because he had his entire trash teammates tearing him down whenever he was on the court, like Jamal Murray -11.
Do we both agree the Nuggets should, if they could just drop Jamal Murray altogether off the roster? Even if we got nothing in return, just drop him off the roster. You would agree with me, right? The Nuggets would be better off just dropping Jamal Murray.
Yes, Gary, but again, like you would say, oh, well, just don't play him at all. You did say don't play him at all. You said keep Tyus Jones. You were texting with me in game 6, and you said don't play Jamal Murray at all the second half at this point. Just play Tyus Jones. But Gary, you can't just not play an all-NBA third-team performer who's totally healthy.
Then that's a mistake, because if they had not played him, maybe they would have done. Because as soon as they put him in, they started getting their asses kicked. You can bench your guy if he's sucking. You have to have the balls to be able to do that as a coach and go against the grain. Remember the movie Miracle when Kurt Russell played the coach? And during the auditions, the tryouts, he sent half of the All-Stars, and they're like, wait, you can't do that. These are the best players you're sending. He said, I don't want the best players, I want the right players. And Jamal Murray sure as hell proved himself not to be the right player against the Timberwolves. He may have been better than Tyus Jones, but he wasn't the right player in that series.
So I guess, Gary, you would then suggest that the -11 of his on-offs would actually be a good depiction of his value and impact on the Nuggets then, I guess, right? So maybe
it'd be more like -100.
So maybe the -19 actually is right for Shea, but so maybe you should just not play him, like you were suggesting they just should not play Jamal Murray.
Sure, that's a big the Nuggets without Jamal Murray would look way better than the Thunder will against the Spurs with no SGA.
I just want to look at what AJ Mitchell has done this postseason and because I think his emergence, look, Shea doesn't play defense. Like, I know he probably can, he doesn't. And I think the emergence of AJ Mitchell as an offensive engine has somewhat negated what SGA's value and importance is on the team. And look, AJ Mitchell really hasn't been pressed to do this until now, because they're without Jalen Williams for a significant stretch. Like in the regular season, Gary, AJ Mitchell was a solid +6.5 on off this year. In the postseason, he is +25 right now.
You got to remember, they're playing the crappy Suns. Well, not crappy, but they're not playing tough competition. The Suns and the Lakers without Luka, that's not tough competition.
Okay, but all I'm saying is this. AJ Mitchell is playing the same teams as Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander right now in 8 games is -19, and AJ Mitchell is +25. I mean, that's just what the numbers are.
I think AJ's really good. That's why the team is so damn scary, because of how deep they are. I'm just saying, in no way do I think sitting SGA makes the Thunder somehow better in spite of the -19 or -20 or whatever. Whereas with the Nuggets, had they sat Jamal Murray's ass, they actually would have been better, because they have their engine, Jokic, who can work around. Jokic doesn't need the best players, he needs the right players. That's all Jokic needs. Jamal Murray tanks Jokic with his inconsistent shooting. My point was, if Murray is shooting consistently, they can beat anybody. That's what they did in 2023, because Murray's shots were actually falling.
Fair, Gary. All I'm saying is what the numbers show and what they state, and how the team is performing with and without those players on the floor. And that those numbers simply don't lie. Like that, they just don't. It's look, PER, BPM, points per game, assists per game, assist rate, all those things can be manipulated and used differently to make different points or different cases. On off, like it's just so easy. It's every second they're on, every second they're off. The only intangible that you throw in is who they're playing with. So like a bench player, for instance, Nikola Jokic's on-offs shifted a bit this year. He had been plus 20 the last couple years because Michael Malone had a strategy where he typically did not play Jokic heavy minutes with primary bench players. So most of the time, Jokic was on with starters only. So then that inflated his plus minus a little bit. Now this year, Adelman had a completely different substitution pattern and scheme where he would play Jokic heavy minutes with all four bench players. Basically, Jokic would play like all the second quarter with four bench players. And they were without like 2-3 starters all year long. So he was playing with bench players to bench players in those minutes. So that did impact and shift his on-offs a little bit. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is playing the starter minutes right now, Gary, in the playoffs. He's playing with all the other starters on the Thunder, and he's still a minus 19. Like, they are what they are. Okay, the incorruptible. Sorry, we got Gary and I, as we are prone to do, get caught up on certain topics, and this was just one that we ended up getting caught up on. So thanks for bearing with us, guys. Still, we seem to have very good retention here, Gary. 440 people still in here. Basically, it's been 440 people since I checked an hour and a half ago, and it still is that. So thank you guys for hanging out with us tonight. Obviously, I was hoping to have a nice earlier night, so we're gonna work our way through these and try. Gary and I will try to argue and bicker less. We're usually good for one a night, I'd say, Gary. Maybe we go 1 or 2 nights without, and then we really get our money's worth with one good sesh where we just vehemently disagree with something the other person says.
You haven't had a debate with me yet. We've never had a debate.
Well, Gary, that's because that would be 10 minutes or 10 hours rather. We would have to have like a whole day. It would be like a marathon live stream.
It's not a whole day, but like an hour or two. Because every time I start making my point, it's time to move on, which is fine because that's not what this live stream's not a debate. I'm just pointing out you haven't actually debated me yet. That's all I'm saying.
Gary, you think that sometimes numbers that are literally black and white. You're talking about you're making a point. You're saying that these numbers that are completely strictly black and white and irrefutable. Like the most irrefutable numbers that you can possibly look to, the on-offs. You're saying that they are completely making sense in Jamal Murray's case and that it's spot on. If not, the minus 11 is too good, you think, for Jamal Murray. Whereas the minus 19 is completely fabricated and like out of nowhere for SGA. That's what you're saying.
No. What I'm saying is I don't watch games based on stat lines or betting lines. I watch the games with my eyes. And what I saw with my eyes, that Jamal Murray looked like shit. And what I see with SGA is that whenever he's on the floor, OKC is winning. I don't see that.
Gary, you're not watching the games then. You're simply not watching the Oklahoma City game. You're not, Gary. You're not. Because guess what? They're not winning when he's on the floor. They're playing even.
They're 8-0. How are they not winning?
Gary, they're not, because when he's on the floor, they're either getting played neutral, they're getting drawn even, or they're losing when he's on the floor. When he's off the floor is when they're making their headway. That's when they're blowing teams out. You're not watching the games because when he's on the floor, they're not winning. They're winning because of the depth and strength of the roster. And that's what that number means, Gary. That's what minus 19 means. It means when he's on the floor, they're not winning. In fact, they're losing by a lot.
I'm talking about the scoreboard. I'm not talking about a run. Like, say the Lakers just went on a 10-4 run, but the score overall OKC is still in the lead, whereas the Nuggets are never in the lead when they're playing when in this first round against the Timberwolves. They were always down, even without Ant. They got their asses kicked in game 4 with no Anthony Edwards. That was embarrassing. That's what I'm getting at. I don't see anything like that with the Thunder and SGA this playoff so far, or last year either.
Definitely didn't happen last year, Gary, but that's why you're just not watching that. Honestly, you're not watching or you're not paying attention to the games. Let me help you real quick, and then we're going to move on. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander in game 2 against the Lakers. They won, Gary, 125-107. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander was a +5. Okay, that's okay. Chet Holmgren was +19. AJ Mitchell was +18. Casey Wallace was +17. Alex Caruso was +17. Jalen Williams was +12. That was game 2. In game 3, they were all like +30. In game 4, that was the closeout game. He was -7, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, in 39 minutes last night. When he was on the floor, they got outscored by 7 points. AJ Mitchell was +17. Isaiah Hartenstein was +30. Jared McCain was +27. Like, I'm just saying, they're not winning when he's on the floor. They're playing even or they're losing. But other guys have outrageous and exorbitant on-offs and plus minuses per game. And that's why the Thunder are unbeatable. Because look, Gary, this is what I'm watching when I see the game. I see them playing even with Shai predominantly, or maybe a moderate lead. And then Shai goes out, and by the time Shai comes back in, they're up 17. Like, that's just what the Thunder are. That's why they're unbeatable. Not because Shai is so great or he's the MVP. But that's what I see when I watch. That's why I'm critical of him like I am at times. Okay, we got to get back on track, Gary. The Incorruptible is in with 1-2, basically you. Would you like me to read it to you, or would you like to read it?
Gary AI, how about your boy Kobe Harper?
I really like Dylan Harper. I think he had another great game tonight. I think he's been great all postseason. I'm really on this on-off kick now, Gary. Let's just keep going to these on-off numbers real fast. I want to see what Kobe Harper, a.k.a. Dylan Harper's on-offs look like. Just about a +3 on both the regular season and the postseason is Dylan Harper, but a +3-ish for both. And see, that's why, like, Victor Wembanyama, I'm guessing he's like a +12-ish on in the playoffs this year. And which is maybe I think he was even higher than that in the regular season, but he was +16 in the regular season this year. He's +12 in the playoffs. Like, that's a floor riser to me. Like, Shai is just in a good situation, quite frankly. Dylan, what's up, brother? Model Body Fit is in. Welcome to the party, Dylan. Appreciate you, my friend. Good to hear from you. Gary, go ahead. It looks like a Spurs question. Go ahead with this question from Model Body Fit.
If the Spurs win the chip, start of a new dynasty?
For sure. The Spurs and the Thunder both are at the beginning of a dynasty. They are going to be basically, I mean, this is Lakers Spurs 2.0 from the 90s and 2000s. Like, it's Duncan and Kobe. It's one team's going to have 4 or 5, and then the other team's going to have 4 or 5. So I think they will both be dynastic separately, and unfortunately for the other one, at the expense of each other. D's Laughs White Claw. D's Labs _ White Claw is in. I like White Claws. D's Laughs, welcome in. Thanks for being here. Gary, go ahead. Go ahead with the question from D's Laughs about Whitlock.
Presti has a Spurs blueprint. Whitlock trolling you.
We'll see. Presti is the master. He is a guru. They have crazy amounts of collateral and assets left for retools and rebuilds. So it's going to be interesting to see what his response is. I think they might want to re-sign Hartenstein, though I don't know how they will feasibly be able to. They don't have his bird rights, I don't think. And he's going to command a much larger salary. He's got a team option for next year. So I think they're going to have to pay him if they want. And I don't know how, because Shea's making 60 to 70 a year. Chet's making 40 to 50. Jalen Williams is making 40 to 50. I think that you're going to want to keep Alex Caruso. You're going to want to keep Cason Wallace. You're going to want to keep AJ Mitchell, obviously, though Mitchell's only he's making $2 million the next 2 years after this one. So you've got some time with him and Jared McCain at least. But you might want to keep a stable of bigs to try to combat Victor Wembanyama moving forward. That's probably going to be part of whatever the blueprint that Presti might have is. And Whitlock, he's had some questionable, pretty heinous takes as of late on LeBron James. Other than that, I agree, and I see eye to eye with Whitlock mostly all of the time, actually. But on the LeBron James thing as of late, that would be not one instance that we agree. And he also does not like Kobe, so I do not agree. But he hasn't really pushed back much with me head to head personally on the Kobe front. All right, Stefan Stanky is in next. What's up, Stefan? Welcome in. And yes, I see Stefan like Marbury. I got it right now. I'm not going to mess it up again. Thank you for being here. Welcome into you, Gary. What's the question or comment from Stefan?
What's your thoughts on bums actually believing Gasol should have been 2010 Finals MVP? I believe D. Wade also said this.
Yeah, I actually made a video about it, Stefan. Just a trash take. It's a loser take. Kobe had one of the greatest finals performances ever in that series, and people want to not give him the finals MVP. Again, this is revisionism in its finest. It's just trying systematically to destroy Kobe Bryant's legacy. Kobe Bryant in that series, ridiculously hard-fought, defensively oriented series in 2010 against the Boston Celtics, an elite defense. The Lakers averaged 90 points per game in 7 games as the winning team. The Celtics averaged 87 per game. Averaged. Game 7 was 83 to 79 final. 2 instances in this entire 7-game series did one team break 100 points in a game. The Lakers scored 100 once, 102 in game 1. Boston scored 100 once, 103 in game 2. So that's it. Other than that, 96-89, 92-86. Lakers beat Boston 89 to 67 in game 7 or in game 6. And in game 7, 83-79. So a highly defensively oriented series. Kobe Bryant outscored everybody in the series by at least 10 points per game. Not everybody on his team, everybody in the whole series. He averaged 28.6 points per game. Pau Gasol was the second leading scorer in the series, 18.6. So 10 full points less than Kobe. The next highest scorer was Paul Pierce, 18 points per game. Kobe also in that series, by the way, was second in the whole series in rebounding. He outscored everybody by 10 points per game, and he was second in the entire series for either team in rebounds. Oh, and by the way, he was also second in the series in assists for either team, led his team in assists as well. Oh, and 2 steals per game, 2.1 steals per game. Guess what? Led the series for both teams, either player. So led both teams in scoring by 10 points, was second on both teams in rebounds, second in both teams in assists, led both teams in steals in a series where he did not have a top 75 player on his team, and he played another team that had 3 top 75 players on it. Am I on crazy pills? That's like one of the best performances in NBA Finals history. And you got fools out here in revisionism saying Pau Gasol was the Finals MVP. This is the stuff I'm talking about, guys. All right, Stefan is back in. Stefan is back in. See, I said I was going to mess it up, and I did. Stefan Stanky is back in, back to back. Ooh, with another Kobe-centric question. I like it, Stefan. Thank you very much. Gary, what's this next one from him say? You're muted.
We align on Jokic and Kobe all the way. Make it 3 for 3 and support the Carolina Panthers. Hashtag Serbia, Mamba, Ice, Bryce.
I got nothing against the Panthers. I'm born and raised in Pittsburgh. I'm a big Steeler guy through and through, at least from my lineage, my bloodline. I've been anti-Steelers for like 20 years because I can't stand Tomlin. I hate their new hire of Mike McCarthy as well. So I've been anti-Pittsburgh for a while, even though I'm in the back of my mind and in my heart, I'm obviously hoping that they do things that I agree with and like so that I can start supporting them again. In the interim, I really have become captivated with my man, Danny Campbell in Detroit. Love the mindset, love the old school mentality, the fire and brimstone like coach, wears his emotions on his sleeve. He's got those big balls and goes for it on 4th down all the time. Love to see it. Love to see it. So I've kind of been rooting for the Detroit Lions lately. Also, they are a long-suffering fan base that has gotten nothing nice in their entire existence, basically. So I would just like to see them maybe do well and get off the schneid and win something of note. But other than that, look, I have nothing against your Carolina Panthers. All right, Spartan 4196 is in next. Welcome in, Spartan 4196. Thank you for being here. A bunch of the regs are in again. All of the usual suspects, obviously, here. I do appreciate it. Go ahead, Gary, with this one.
I respect the Spurs and Thunder because they were built through the draft, not bought in free agency.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. And look, the Thunder brought in SGA, but not through free agency. They traded for him. They fleeced the Clippers. They brought in SGA as well as like 10 draft picks as well when they offloaded Paul George. So you're absolutely right. Though both of these teams, Spartan, I just have to add this nugget of truth and context in. Both of these teams tanked at points to get to where they're at and to get the picks that they got. I just want to add that in. The Spurs less so for sure and less egregiously than the Thunder, but they did tank to build up their cachet of draft picks and get high pick, and they lucked out from the ping pong ball bounce, and then they executed on those picks. So that's part 2. Tanking and getting you got to tank first, then you got to hope the balls bounce your way, then you got to make the right picks, which they have. So kudos to them. They're built primarily the right way, and they're 2 teams that have a lot of staying power now moving forward. Okay, we've got Will N8664 is up next. Will, what's up, brother? Welcome in. No problem on missing the last 2, though. You missed an absolute banger last night. We were on for 3 hours till like 4:30 in the morning. Had a bunch of activity and positive energy going on. But no problem because, well, we're here tonight. So welcome in tonight. Gary, what's the question or comment from Will?
Sorry, missed the last 2 lives, so playing catch up. Would y'all compare the Tibbs, Mike Brown transition with the Knicks to the Warriors, Mark Jackson, Steve Kerr?
Well, no, not right now. Not yet. I mean, the Knicks have to capitalize on this. Like Mark Jackson handed to Steve Kerr, and Kerr won 4 championships, including 2 without KD, where they were too big to fail. So look, I like what I'm seeing here from the Knicks. Don't get me wrong. I think they're going to go to the finals, but you can't just go to the finals once or twice and compare yourself to that. And I don't like Steve Kerr as a person, but he absolutely has a massive stake and in terms of the credit pie when we're talking about those 4 titles. And really Steph Curry, I think, in a way. He's kind of made Steph Curry to some degree as well. So no, I wouldn't go there yet. Now look, if the Knicks shock the world and win the NBA championship this year or something like that, now we're talking, obviously. And Gary will have to admit that Mike Brown is an elite coach then at that point as well. Okay, the Incorruptible is back in again. Go ahead, Gary, with the Incorruptible's latest comment here.
OKC is too unserious to compete with San Antonio Spurs. San Antonio cooked them during the season and will win unless OKC gets legendary no calls.
Look, I think that's going to be a great series. I think the Thunder have the capacity to get to the next level, which we realistically haven't seen yet. They've won 8 straight games in the playoffs, and they really haven't even played an A game yet or even attempted to play an A game yet. They've played A quarters and A halves, but I think the Thunder can get to an extra gear that we haven't seen yet, and I think that's going to be a fabulous series. But I do think that the Spurs are a tough matchup for them, and Victor Wembanyama is that dude. So, I am very excited about that series and about that rivalry over the next several years to come now. Joshua CH9FG's in. What's up, Josh? Welcome in, my friend. Thanks for being here as always. Gary, what is the question or comment from Josh?
Skap, why do I feel LeChoke would be a Laker next season? I hope he chooses not to take a pay cut and goes back to the Cavs.
Look, I think I've been saying it all year that he wouldn't be a Laker. All summer, all regular season, up until like March. Now the way the season ended, I really do believe that he will, odds are high that he will be a Laker. I think he wants to play next year for sure. And I think he wants it to be in LA. I think the other options for him would be Cleveland for sure. They said they were amenable to a LeBron return. But to me, that's going to be tied to the rest of their run this season, how things go. And really James Harden, because I think when they made the trade, obviously, they were anticipating that James Harden was going to be in the plans for the next probably 2 years. I don't think a team with Donovan Mitchell, James Harden, and LeBron James works. I think you've got to shed James Harden if you want to bring in LeBron. Another opportunity for him, I think, would be in New York, where this team is very close to a title. I think they might lose in the NBA championship. They haven't won a title in over 50 years. LeBron has been flirting with New York for 15 years now. It would just make sense. It's the biggest media stage, even bigger than LA. It makes sense to me that he would go there, a team that's very close to a title that could help get them over the top and end their like 50 plus year drought of titles. So I think that would be an option. The problem with the Knicks is that I don't think LeBron wants to go to an organization that's totally unfamiliar to him. So that would leave the Heat or the Cavs if he leaves LA. The Heat are too far away from contention. So I think it really would be the Cavs. But ultimately, LeBron, look, he said the last couple of years he doesn't know where he wants to, doesn't know what he's going to do. BS. He knew exactly what he was going to do the last couple of years. This year, though, I really do believe he doesn't know because the Lakers don't know. Their books are filled with uncertainty. They have practically nobody committed to contract. So like they can go in a completely different direction if they want. And I really do think they want to go in a direction away from LeBron. I think, though, they won't embarrass him. If he wants to play there and he's willing to take a huge pay cut, then I think he will come back with LA. And I ultimately do think that is what's going to happen, Joshua, though I'm very sad because I want him out of LA. Like I would love to see him go to the East and play with either the Knicks or the Cavs. All right. Stefan is back in. Gary, I see the question. I'll just read it. It's real quick. It's real short. I am familiar, Stefan, with Rick Bucher, and I am a big fan of Rick Bucher. He thinks Kobe is above LeBron. He's got Kobe, I believe, in his top 2 or 3 all time. He does not have LeBron in his top 5. So Rick and I, as Kobe used to call him, Slick Rick. That was what that was Kobe's nickname for Rick Bucher. And Kobe had a good relationship with Rick Bucher. And I've watched Slick Rick for several. He used to be on ESPN back in the day. I don't know where he's at now, but I know he still has a presence. I know he's still on somewhere, and he's on social media a bunch still. So yes, I am familiar with Rick Bucher, and I really do. Stefan, I am a fan of Rick Bucher, one of the few journalists or talking head guys that I actually have some kind of respect and admiration for. Okay, the real Donald Trump 646 is in next, of course, coming from Canada. So what's up, Mr. President? Welcome in to Skap Live After Dark. Thanks for being here. I appreciate you. Gary, what's the question from the Prez?
What's the difference between SGA and Ant-Man, the OKC refs? Everyone knows this. Eye test.
I mean, realistically, I don't necessarily disagree with this much. They are similar players. What's the difference is SGA has a much better team. And look, the Timberwolves have a good team. I mean, I think the Timberwolves have one of the 3 or 4 best rosters in the NBA, but the Thunder are much better. There's levels to this. And I think, look, Ant-Man I think he has a more dynamic offensive attack. I think he's more flashy, more athletic. Physically, he's more gifted than SGA. I think SGA has a better skill set. And yes, even removing the grifting and the foul baiting, I think SGA has an elite mid-range game. He really does. He's one of the few guys that has mastered the mid-range in today's NBA. So, like, I don't want to take that away from SGA. He has worked on that. He has built that, and he has worked hard on constructing and having that reliable and that unstoppable of a mid-range game. So I think SGA has a little more skill and talent and things he's built and constructed in the laboratory. And Anthony Edwards has more dynamic athleticism. But Edwards has a great jumper too, especially he has a really streaky and honestly, not even streaky anymore. He has a really consistent 3-point shot. And when you put that athleticism and his ability to slash and attack the rim with a pretty reliable and consistent 3-point shot and one that he shoots a lot, like they are very dynamic offensive players, and both of them have the reputation of being great defensive players, and maybe they are, but they don't play defense most of the time. So there is a lot of similarities between SGA and Anthony Edwards. But the difference is the teams, obviously. And OKC has a much better team. All right. Stefan is back in again. Thank you, Stefan. Gary, I'll read this one too real quick, just because it's a quick one. I have not, and Gary, I'll get your take on it real quick too. Have you seen the HBO show Succession, Gary?
Honestly, not to defend Stefan. I watched Billions and loved it. And so I thought Succession was similar. I tried watching Succession. I was bored out of my mind. I thought it was dull. I think Billions with Damian Lewis and Paul Giamatti is much better.
I haven't seen either of those shows. I haven't seen Billions or Succession. I've been meaning to watch both or give both a try. I know my guy, Jim Rome, my idol, Jim Rome. I know that he is a big Succession fan and he talks about it often. So I have not watched either Billions or Succession. I do like Damian Lewis quite a bit. I thought he was fantastic in Homeland. Fantastic. So I have been meaning to watch that, and Succession is one that I want to watch too. There's just so many shows now these days. It's just crazy. The real Donald Trump is back in again, I think, asking again a follow-up on the SGA and Ant-Man question, which I just answered, but I'll talk to it again. Gary, go ahead with his second follow-up question on it.
SGA versus Ant-Man. One flops and gets Liddy type of calls. One had to face Denver and the Spurs, while the other faced Lakers and the Suns.
I mean, there's no doubt about it. If the Wolves went through the path that the Thunder went through, they would be in the West Finals too. But that's because the Thunder got home court. They got the number 1 seed. The Minnesota Timberwolves are not the number 1 seed anymore. I think they were the second best team in the West for the last couple years. I think now they've been bumped down to the third best team in the West. I think they're behind the Spurs and the Thunder. But they're the 6th seed this year. Quit this tomfoolery in the regular season already, Minnesota. Step up and be the team that you're supposed to be. If Ant-Man wants to get first team All-NBA, he put up first team-ish numbers this year, but he ain't going to get it with 46 wins or 47 wins as the 6th seed. Not when he has a team that's locked, loaded, and stacked and should be winning 55 to 58 games every year. So, and he's got to get up there and get those 55 to 58 wins and get an upper echelon seed line to make it easier on himself in the postseason. He's playing from the road in all of these series now, multiple, 3 years in a row, basically. It looks, or whatever, 3 out of the last 4 years. They're playing from 5 or lower. So, he's got to just do better in the regular season. And he's played a lot of the games. It's not like he's hurt and missing games. This year, he played only 61 games, the least he's played in his entire career. Before that, he's played in over 70 every year of the previous 5 years of his career until this season. 81 Dai is in next. What's up, 81? Shout out to you. Welcome back into the show. I appreciate it. Gary, go ahead with the question or comment on this one.
You are definitely correct. Ant-Man is overrated besides the top 4 you mentioned. I would also put Curry, Greek Freak, and Tatum ahead of him.
I mean, Gary, you can laugh and shake your head if you want. I mean, you're entitled to your opinion. I think Anthony Edwards and Giannis they're not consistently healthy enough right now at this point in time for me to put them above him. But if they return to health next year, if they are at their level next year, and you'll notice, Gary, I didn't say Tatum or Giannis even in the names that I mentioned.
I'm not saying I'm shaking my head at Tatum sitting out Game 7. I'm sorry, I cannot overlook that. I'm sorry, you don't sit out of a Game 7 with knee stiffness. It was not his Achilles. He just wussed out. I'm sorry. You go out there. When Anthony Edwards put it all on the line Game 1 and has been playing well, and I know you're saying, well, he's stronger than Tatum, evidently. Tatum had you at least give it a go. Why do you like Kobe Bryant? Why does Kobe Bryant stand so tall for you? Because the guy was relentless. That's what we like. We like relentless type of players, not guys who sit out like what Jason Tatum did. That was a LeBron move. That was not a Kobe move. That was Anthony Edwards playing was a Kobe move. And Gary, that's why I just can't take Tatum seriously. I love Greek Freak, though.
I'm not necessarily disagreeing with you. Kobe washed himself out at 34 because of all of the playing through all the injury. His body was shot by 34. So maybe look, but that's how he played. That's the ferocity and the aggression and the force at which he played with and played through things. So I get it, but I also get a guy that's okay, but I don't want to wash myself out like that. So, and look, will you, Gary, also crush Kevin Durant and call him a little bitch too? Because you love Kevin Durant, but he did the same exact thing this year.
Oh, no doubt. I don't understand what happened. I don't know what happened behind the scenes. I just find it very hard to believe that a guy who suited up and tore his Achilles in the finals is now about to finally make a playoff run in the first round. All of a sudden, I bumped my knee in practice. I'm going to sit out. The same dude who 6 years ago tore his Achilles, risked his whole career just to suit up in the finals. I find it very hard to believe that something was not going on behind the scenes. But that's a topic for another discussion. But if it was, in fact, Kevin Durant's decision, absolutely, that would be soft.
So what you
All
just
the
said,
time I praised Durant was before that first round. I was talking about 2012. And so what happened this year has nothing to do with 2012, just for the record. Because you said I love Durant. That's what I'm pointing. I didn't love what Durant did this year.
Fair, but what you just said about Kevin Durant putting it all on the line and blowing his Achilles in the finals is exactly what Jason Tatum did just last season in the playoffs.
Jason Tatum wasn't playing injured last year.
Yes, he was, Gary.
He had a freak injury, didn't he?
No, he was playing with calf tightness, which is obviously a gateway to ruptured Achilles.
Okay, but that wasn't the same type of injury Durant played with. Durant had a legit injury that had kept him out. Tatum hadn't been missing times in last year's playoffs, did he?
I'm pretty certain, Gary, that Durant was the injury that kept him out was actually a knee injury. And then he was playing through calf tightness when he ruptured his Achilles. Just like Tyrese Halliburton last year, just like Jason Tatum last year, just like Giannis Antetokounmpo has been deactivated like 4 times now in the last like 2 years with calf tightness because they don't want his Achilles to go. If you're you can check that. You can check that out. I'll read this one actually. You keep looking, Gary, if you're looking to see exactly what was the thing on KD. Because remember, KD missed games in that postseason. He missed games early on. I think it was a knee injury, and I don't think it was related to an Achilles. I think, and then he did though have calf tightness and like a calf strain that he was playing through, which is what Tatum and Halliburton and all these guys that keep popping their Achilles are playing with calf strains or calf tightness. But go ahead, you look that up, confirm that is in fact the case. I can read this one from the Incorruptible while you're looking that up. KG 6th all time in value over replacement, and also top 20 in both steals and blocks is absurd, especially in a slower era. Hakeem is the only other top 20 in both. So saying top 20 in steals and blocks, I think, is what that is. Not also top 20 in VORP steals and blocks. But, I mean, there's no doubt Incorruptible. I know you're a big KG guy, and I also love KG. And I think KG is one of the elite two-way players. There's no doubt about it. I've been promising a KG video, and I will certainly do a KG video in the offseason this year when things slow down a little bit for me. And I will execute that video. And I'm going to really pour into exactly how good KG was. Unfortunately, he's never really going to get his just due or his full credit because he never was able to win in Minnesota. And then he went to that stacked Boston team and they only got one, which feels like an underachievement. So like there's no shame in not getting the one or getting anything in Minnesota. That team sucked and they put trash around him. But the fact that he only got one when he bounced around the league afterwards chasing definitely hurts him overall. But from an individual perspective and an impact on both sides of the floor, KG is definitely top 10 two-way all-time players. There's no doubt about that. Gary, did you find anything on that or no?
Kevin Durant had been out for a month before he came back for a month with a calf injury. So the calf and the Achilles are connected, where Tatum's injury was a knee. It's not even an injury, it was just stiffness in the knee, which is separate from the Achilles.
Gary, let me just say something about that. Kobe Bryant was dealing with a myriad of knee injuries down the stretch in 2012, 2013. He had multiple surgeries on both knees. He was dealing with, I remember the game specifically against Golden State when he popped the Achilles and he was hobbling all over the place. His knee was all messed up going into the game. He hurt it again in the game. He refused to come out. He was playing like 43 minutes a game for the last 8 or 9 games of the regular season, trying to drag that team in the playoffs, and his Achilles just exploded. So like there wasn't anything with the calf or the Achilles specifically, but he had a myriad of lower body injuries, and he was playing way too many minutes in his 17th season, and he ended his career. Like that year when he got hurt in game 78, I think 78 or 79 in 2012, I think it was 2012, 2013. Kobe scored more points per game than LeBron James that year and averaged more points per game than LeBron James that year, and averaged like his career high in assists, like 6 assists a game and like 5.8 rebounds or something like that. Kobe was like a top 3 player in the NBA still. Like, that's not me being a fanboy or like hindsighting it. Like LeBron won league MVP that year, and Kobe averaged more points, scored more total points, played more games than LeBron, more minutes than LeBron in his age 34, 17 year in the NBA. Kobe could have played as a top 5 player to 40 if he wanted to. He could have been LeBron. We could have, look, that was when the Vino movement was going, because Kobe was aging like fine wine. And then he exploded his Achilles by overdoing it and pushing it too hard. Now, look, that's who Kobe was. And that's why Kobe was what he was, and the competitor that he was, and he won the championships that he won and all that, and why he has the Mamba mentality, and we all admire him. I agree, Gary. But he also destroyed the end of his career and ended his career like 6 years earlier than it had to end, because he was pushing it and playing through it like that. So, like, I get it if these guys don't want to do it. I'm not look, bro, what are you saying? Like, Jason Tatum came back earlier than anybody expected from the Achilles. Like, that's a full 365-day injury. Like, he should have just been back in the second round. He came back and ramped up like a month before the playoffs even began. Like, I get it. You want to call him out, fine. And like, I'm not going to push back too much on it. But like, that's just not going to be me. And Gary, I'm criticized Jason Tatum. I think he is kind of overrated. I think he chokes in the playoffs. I think he threw up on himself in the finals in 2022 against Golden State. I think he threw up on himself in the 8-2 series that he lost against the Heat that year. I think he choked last year in the playoffs before he got hurt and ruptured the Achilles. Even in the finals that he won, he scored like 20 points per game on like 38% shooting, and Jaylen Brown was the MVP of that series. So I have been critical of Jason Tatum, but like, I'm not going to just rip this guy and say he's a bitch because he sat out a game after he came back like in 9 months from an Achilles that he popped last year in his peak. Like, I understand if he's like 27 or 20, like, I understand if he doesn't want to destroy the rest of his career for one game and one series. Like, I do, I understand it, but I understand your point too. And it's taken. All right. Seahawk Tua is in next. Go ahead, Seahawk Tua. Welcome in, by the way. I don't know that I've seen this handle in the sponsor area yet. So thank you for being here, Seahawk Tua. Welcome into you. Gary, go ahead with whatever the question or comment is from Seahawk Tua.
Ever since LeBut dropped logs against the Thunder, I saw a lot of LeBandwagon fans turn into OKC SGA fans. No wonder OKC fans are so insufferable.
Well, I like a lot that's going on with this Seahawk Tua. I like LeBut dropping logs. And yes, the LeBandwagon fans. Yes, I do see a lot of that. That's because LeBron fans by nature are front runners, and they're consistently looking for who they could jump on, what bandwagon they could hop onto and bandwagon and front run themselves. So obviously, and look, the other thing that LeBandwagon and the sniffers and the lickers like to do, they like to talk up the opponents of their dear king. So like realize obviously that they're consistently saying the Warriors are like the best team ever because that it had to be the best team ever to beat their dear King LeBron. So obviously now they want to root for Shea and the Thunder and have them just run the table and go win the championship so that the loss then will look less egregious for again their dear King LeBron. So yes, Seahawk Tua, you ain't wrong. What you're saying is making a lot of sense here. Gary, we do have a lot of super chats. I do just want to jump down because I was talking to this XAP style, XAPE style X. I don't really know if I'm saying that right or wrong. I was talking to them specifically in the live chat like about an hour ago, maybe even an hour and a half ago at this point now.
X8 style X.
Okay. X-Ape style X. 7219. This person was giving me a lot of pushback on Ant-Man, and I was talking directly to them on some of my Ant-Man rant earlier. So X-Ape style has come in here with a very generous donation and a question, a follow-up to me about Anthony Edwards. So I did just want to jump and hit this one real quick. Gary, go ahead with this question about Anthony Edwards.
Ant-Man wins Game 7, dropping 30 plus. What is your thoughts?
Well, my thoughts are when I see it, I'll talk about it. And look, if Ant-Man, what if Ant-Man goes and has 16 points on 5 of 18 shooting in Game 6 and gets carried to a win there, and then he comes back and win? Like, I have to see the way it unfolds. Right now, I haven't seen anything from Anthony Edwards at any stage of his career that makes me sit back and say, this dude's top 5. Let alone this dude's the best player in the world or the face of the NBA. So when I see it, I'll believe that he can do it, and then I'll talk to it and give him credit for it. Let me just take you down a stroll. Let me take you on a stroll down memory lane, X-Ape style, to, again, Game 7 of the Minnesota Timberwolves Denver Nuggets series in 2023-2024. You know, the series where probably you were yelling that Ant-Man owns Nikola Jokic. Let me take you down a stroll down memory lane in that series real quick, though. In that series, Anthony Edwards played a great series overall. And the Timberwolves, look, the Nuggets are a terrible matchup for the Timberwolves because they have horrendous perimeter defensive players. So Anthony Edwards wreaks havoc on the Denver Nuggets. He should be dominating the Denver Nuggets. His numbers should look incredible against the Denver Nuggets. Conversely, the architect of the Denver Nuggets, the general manager that built that team, I think his name's Tim Connolly, went to Minnesota and constructed a perfect foil that was perfectly constructed to beat the Denver Nuggets and to beat Nikola Jokic. So Jokic should play his worst against the Minnesota Timberwolves, personnel-wise. So keep that in mind as I talk about this series. For the series, Anthony Edwards, 27.7 points per game, 5 rebounds, 6 assists on 50% shooting. Terrific series for the Ant-Man in a 7-game series, a win against the Denver Nuggets in the second round in Game 7. For the series, again, 28, 5, and 5 on 50%. Nikola Jokic, in a series where he should have struggled against elite personnel constructed to beat him, 29, 11, and 8. 29 points, 11 rebounds, 8 assists. By the way, both Ant-Man and Jokic averaged 1.6 steals per game in that series, and Jokic averaged 1 block a game as well. So Jokic, more points, rebounds, assists, steals, and blocks than Anthony Edwards in that series on a higher field goal percentage, 52%, higher true shooting, higher effective field goal shooting. Jokic better in literally every single way, X-Ape style, every way better. And then in Game 7, in Denver, in Game 7, Anthony Edwards in that game had 16 points on 6 of 24 shooting. While in that same game, Jaden McDaniels had 23 on 7 of 10. Karl Anthony Towns had 23 on 8 of 14. Naz Reid had 11 points on 4 of 7. Carried. Anthony Edwards unequivocally carried in that game. Nowhere near the reason they won that game. Not even close. They won it in spite of him. 16 points on 24 shot attempts. Nikola Jokic, conversely, in that game 7. 34 points, 19 rebounds, and 7 assists. 34, 19, and 7. While his counterpart Ant-Man had 16 points on 6 of 24. And people like you are saying that Ant-Man owns Nikola Jokic because of the outcome of that game. And in the second half, yes, I know the Nuggets choked away a 20-point lead. In the second half of that game, Nikola Jokic had 21 points on 7 of 16. So not great shooting. 44% for Nikola Jokic in the second half of that game. But 21 points for him. The entire rest of his team combined in the second half scored 15 points. I'm sorry, 16. 11 for Jamal Murray, 3 for Michael Porter Jr., and 2 for Christian Brown. That's it in the entire second half. Whoa. 16 points for his entire roster, and he had 21. Oh, and the entire roster shot 6 of 20 in the second half, while he shot 7 of 16. Conversely, in the second half for the Minnesota Timberwolves, Jaden McDaniels, 13 points on 3 of 3. Karl Anthony Towns had 10 points. Rudy Gobert had 10 points. Naz Reid had 8 points. I don't know. Ape style. When I see it, I'll believe it, or I'll talk about it then. But I can talk about the game 7 that he beat Nikola Jokic in from 3 years ago when he got absolutely carried. And when Nikola Jokic was by far, easily, without comparison, the best player on the floor in that game 7 and in the entire series. And his team unequivocally failed him. Like Anthony Edwards. So again, I don't want to hear about Anthony Edwards like not having the better team right now. Like Jokic didn't have the better team in that series, and he played the best of anybody. Anthony Edwards doesn't have the best team, fine, but he also isn't playing better than Victor Wembanyama. So take that for what you will. But thank you very much for coming in and following up, and thank you for a very generous donation. Even though we disagree, I appreciate you supporting me and the stream here, the show, I like to call it. Thank you very much. Let's see. I believe I left off on. We did Seahawk to. Now we've got Ruthless Raider 78. Welcome in, Ruthless Raider 78. Always a consistent staple of this show. And I also love Ruthless Raiders questions and comments. Quite typically, they are hilarious and crack me up. They typically involve something to do with human excrement and comparing that to LeBron James, which, you know, I'm a sick guy and I find that kind of stuff funny. So Ruthless Raider, thank you for being here as always. Gary, what's the question or comment from him?
Well, sir, it seems we now live in a world where even Whitlock is starting to support the LeBalding scat streak. And quite frankly, it's really disconcerting, like a dangling crank to the face.
That was a little homage. We talked a little Toby from Houston last night, which is a legendary Jim Rome call. If you know, you know. But that the crank to the face is obviously a little reference to that, a little homage to that again. And yes, I can confirm that Whitlock is not cashing those clutch dollars though. But yes, he has become a bit of a apologist as of late. Really a couple times throughout the course of this postseason run, he and I have gotten into it. And like I said, we typically agree, and that's fine. We can disagree. I like to disagree with people. I like arguing with people and yelling at people. So I don't really mind, but I will definitely give pushback when pushback is needed. And if anybody's trying to defend LeBron at this point, then obviously that pushback is badly needed, Ruthless Raider. Stefan is back in again. Okay, I'll take this one real quick. No loss for the Spurs this year, win or learn. So that's what Gary has been saying, that it's a winning proposition no matter what. Like if they lose, they're gaining valuable experience and understanding of how to operate in playoff settings and how to close these games and take it to the next level. Or they just win the championship this year and they defy all expectations as probably the youngest team ever in NBA history that would do it. So it really is just a winning proposition either way. There is no such thing as a failure for them this year. So Stefan is just agreeing with Gary, and I can certainly see that case as well and understand where they are both coming from there. Okay, we've got Kabuki Boy Jones. What's up, Kabuki? Kabuki Boy, welcome into you. A lot of very familiar names and handles here, obviously. I really do appreciate all of the ongoing consistent support from all of you guys in here. Gary, go ahead with Kabuki. Uh-oh, Gary just popped off here. I don't know what happened. He's probably going to message me here. I don't know if he can jump back in or if I'll have to re-add him on the link. He's saying the stream ended, but I seem to still be live. I'm still live. Let me just call Gary here. And we'll get to the bottom of this.
Hello?
Gary, I think I'm still live. Can you go to Facebook and confirm that I am on or off?
Okay, maybe it's on my end.
Okay.
It may be on my end.
Let me see, guys, on the live chat. Can you just give me, okay, yes, I see. Yes, I am still live. Gary, go ahead and work to get back on if you can. No worries. Okay. Just text me, keep me posted.
All right.
Gary, guys, look, much as is been some rumored speculation about Gary being AI, he is not. So he did just drop off. My dog wants to come up too, right, while this is all happening. Do you want to go to the bed, little girl? So, yeah, here we are. Kabuki Boy Jones, I will read your chat while Gary works to get back on. Coaching matters a lot too. Who do you think is the best coach between the Spurs and the Thunder? It's a good question. I mean, look, Mitch might be coach of the year for the Spurs this year. I actually don't know if that was voted on yet or not this season. I don't think so. I don't think I heard that had been released. Obviously, they've all been voted on, and these things have all been decided. Yes. Wait, by the way, yes, Joe Seppin, please. Yes, you are all Gary now. Guys, police the thread for me. Call out any knuckleheads or any kind of shenanigans that are going on the chat, and I will swiftly deal with them. But yeah, I'm not sure who the coach of the year is this year. I maybe would lean towards Mitch. So he's a great coach. And, the Dagnall is coach of the year too. He won coach of the year, I think 2 years ago. So both of these guys are, I think, as good as advertised. They're both young guys, a bright future for both of them and the teams in which they are managing. So, yeah, I mean, I think there is let me just put it like this, Kabuki. I don't think there is a noted advantage on either sideline for either of the guys. I like both of them. I like the adjustments they both make. It's a little bit easier for Dagnall because of the personnel he has to deploy. They have no real weakness. They can match up. They could make adjustments on the fly because their personnel is so elite and they possess so many things that it's an easier job for Dagnall than it is for Mitch. But I think no marked advantage for either sideline in that regard. All right, we've got JXYYSX Savage. in 8295. I probably say that wrong every time, but JXY, welcome in again, another regular. Thank you for being here. They benched James Harden in 2015 when he was playing us, and they came back down 3-1. Look, I mean, maybe you do just bench your star players. I think, look, I'm of the opinion. Sorry, I see this. Gary AI is transporting back through the matrix. I'm just keeping an eye on this main chat. Look, I'm of the opinion that you play your studs. I'm a big fantasy football player as well, and some people play matchups, some people play the hot hand, which is fine in the regular season. But in the postseason, I'm a big advocate of play your studs. Play, like, ride the horse that brought you there. So, like, I would play my lead guys no matter what, even if it looks like we're performing better without them. And now that is barring some kind of an injury. Okay. This is why I don't understand what user. Sorry, I'm getting distracted here. Anyway, I'm going to concentrate here, and Gary AI will be back on shortly. He just texted me, so don't worry about that. Maybe, look, if there's an injury going on, then fine. I think that you obviously have to go ahead and make the decision of what's best for your team. Like, if Anthony Edwards came back from the knee injury too early and he was obviously hurting them or impacting them negatively, then of course you put him down, you bench him. I think they probably should have benched Jamal Murray against the Timberwolves 3 years ago when he was hurt. This year you couldn't because he was healthy. And I think that you play your studs or play the guys that brought you there. Okay, we've got Stephanie back in tonight again for, I don't know, like a second or third night in a row. Thank you very much. Good to have you here as always. And thank you for being in the sponsor area here. I do appreciate it. And she says, I 100% agree with everything you said in this stream, Skap, and thank you for always being realistic about Yoke. That's why I followed you in the first place. Yes, all of my Serbian brothers and sisters in arms about Nikola Jokic, we got to stick together. We've got to. And look, if I have to be hard on him, like I was a little critical of him earlier in these playoffs, I'll do it. But overall, there's very, very few times where Nikola Jokic deserves or warrants any kind of criticism. The amount of roster support that this guy has been allotted throughout his career is literally criminal. For a guy of this guy's ability, status, and really just elite leadership capabilities, I think he is like the ultimate teammate. He's a floor riser. He uplifts them on the floor. He is supportive of them off. He is never critical. He never throws anybody under the bus. He never asks for more help, despite the fact he has been handcuffed so severely throughout the course of his career. It is criminal how little this guy has to work with. He has practically no chance to win championships or compete for championships with the way the team building has taken place in other teams like Minnesota, San Antonio, and Oklahoma City, around the league around him. It's crazy to me how little this guy has and how he bamboozles us every year. He tricks and fools us every single year into thinking they're a viable contender because he uplifts that team so drastically. But when he gets into the confines of a 7-game series against a significantly superior force and a significantly deeper, better team, well, all of his teammates evaporate and disappear around him. Oh, and by the way, he's playing elite defensive teams that are constructed essentially specifically to stop him. So I'm sorry. Like, I'm just not going to be overly critical or harsh on this guy. I think that he warrants my defense. And therefore, Stephanie, much to your and all of our Serbian brothers and sisters out there, I will be out here on a ledge, just like I am for Kobe Bryant. Likely, I will be out here for Nikola Jokic for several years to come, fighting the good fight on his behalf. Next in, we've got Stefan Stanky is back in for, I don't know, like a 4th or 5th time already tonight. Thank you very much, Stefan. I really appreciate you continuing to be here. SGA, great player, minus his flopping, of course. But simply put, swap Jokic to the Thunder and SGA to the Nuggets. Tell me what those records end up being. Enough said. exactly. If Nikola Jokic, who is extraordinarily durable, would go to play with the Oklahoma City Thunder, who have like 7 or 8 top 20 defensive players league-wide, including, let's even lose one of the centers. Let's send one of the centers, either one, Hartenstein or Chet. Send one of them with Shea to Denver. Denver's 40-win team, maybe 42-win team, like 500-ish. Probably the Oklahoma City Thunder win like 70 games, 70, 73, 74, 75 games. So, and win the championship with ease. They're going on a three-peat right now. If you put Jokic on the Thunder 3 years ago, easily three-peat. So, like you said, Stefan, enough said. Xavier DeGod is up next. Xavier, welcome in, my friend. Always a reliable go-to, both here and in my comments section of my videos. I appreciate it. If LeBron gets swept in the first round next, he would have been swept in every round of the playoffs. We can only hope he makes that history. I'm with you. I want LeBron to go for it. Go for history. Do it, LeBron. Take it. Take your mantle as the king, Le Sweep, the king of the brooms. Do the whatever what's it called when a player, a baseball player, batting for the cycle or whatever, when you do the single, double, triple, and home run, or maybe the triple crown potentially. LeBron going for it, a sweep at every level. So like 20, 30, and 40. Every decade of his life in the NBA, a sweep, and in every round of the playoffs. That would be something to behold. Shea to Denver at 60-win team is outrageous. There's no way. Again, Ape Style is saying there's no way. There's just no way. Listen, Shea on a significantly better team than Nikola Jokic has never been able to equal Nikola Jokic's on-offs, plus-minuses, whatever, with way better supporting casts around him. There's no way they're a 60-win team. There's just none. Look, again, the Thunder without Shea this year are about a 54-win team replacement. They won 64 with him. That's plus 10. Shea added 10 points or 10 games. Nikola Jokic, the Nuggets at replacement without Jokic, with him off net swing, we were like -4. That's about a 20 to 25 win team. They won 54. That's 30 games. So Jokic is a net 30 swing guy. But let's just go under. Let's say 25. Let's say Jokic adds 25 wins. Even let's say low end 20. Shea adds 10. Like, it's not close. So you're telling me that the crappy Nuggets are going to add Shea at like a plus 10 guy, and they're going to win 6. That math isn't mathing, bro. Okay, next in, we've got Dylan is back in. Model Body Fit. Welcome. Thank you for being here. I appreciate it. I totally agree with your Nick Wrong take. Trash. Yes, Model Body Fit. It's just, he's one of the worst on-air personalities that I've seen. Like, probably Shannon Sharp is the only one that I would say is markedly worse. I also cannot stand Stephen A. Smith. So like, that's another one that would be in the mix. But Nick Wrong is definitely number one in my heart and in my mind as the worst guy on air and the most egregious LeBron James sniffer out there. Okay. And again, Model Body Fit, thank you very much for always being here, and in my other comments as well. All right, we already hit this one. By the Bounce 49 is in again. Welcoming him back, I should say, to the sponsor area here of Skap Live After Dark, and thank you for being here very much. Bulls have a new young EVP, Michael Reinsdorf. Bulls have a new young EVP, Michael Reinsdorf apologized. Billy Donovan stepped down. We got the 4th pick. What do you make of this super fresh start? I mean, I kind of like what the Bulls have going on right now. I want to see their contract, though. I want to look at the books. and see exactly what's going on their team payroll. They've got only 92 mil on the books for next year. You got to like that. The biggest contract eater right now is Josh Giddey at only 25 mil a year for the next 3 years. So I really like that. Other than that, practically nothing. They've got Patrick Williams on for 18 mil for 2 years. And that's about it. So this is a completely fresh slate. They can go in any direction that they want. This is going to be, they're going to be pretty much the biggest movers and shakers, I think, in free agency, potentially, looking at their books. Them and the Lakers are probably going to be two of the biggest aggressors, depending on what the Lakers do with Austin Reeves, obviously, and LeBron James. But that is a fresh slate of a book there. So I like it. I kind of like the path and the direction that they could potentially going in a conference, which is, as we know, as wide open as any conference could be at this point, and way more wide open than the West. I don't think there's much room for movement or upward trajectory in the Western Conference. In the East, though, there still is room for movement, I think. You've got the Knicks, who are going to be have staying power, the Cavs as well, I believe. And then the Celtics. Who knows what they're going to do? But other than those 3 teams, like, nobody is out of reach. I guess the Pistons too. So, okay, so the East is crowding up too all of a sudden. I'd say there's 4 pretty legitimate teams that are going to be there regardless. So, we'll see. I'd say any team right now, East or West, young team, like say the Jazz, for instance, who have some good assets built up, have a decent looking lineup right now, I would say you got to build for the next 5 years out, probably, because both of these conferences are, they are both pretty loaded reasonably right now at this point. The West is tougher because you've got the Spurs and the Thunder, the 2 best teams in the NBA. But then the East, look, they're no slouches, and the Knicks are on a historic run right now. All right, Isaac LYK is up next. Wolves, a team only built to beat Denver. Well, they are the perfect foil to Denver, and again, that's because they were built by Denver's former GM, now Minnesota's current GM. So a perfect team, a perfect foil built to beat them. So, but look, the Timberwolves, they're built for more than that, Isaac. They've been to 2 consecutive Western Conference Finals, and they're in a 3-2 series right now, trying to get back to a 3rd consecutive Western Conference Finals. I didn't like them to do that. I didn't pick them pre-series to be able to do that, but they're right there in the middle of this series. So I would say the Timberwolves, though, they do need another piece. They're likely a piece away at this point. I think, look, teams can pass you by in a hurry. Like, the league catches up to you in a hurry. I think the Timberwolves were one of the 2 best teams in the West for a couple years. Now they are markedly behind 2 teams in the West. So they got to add another piece. They need another principal ball handler and scorer to help take that burden off of Anthony Edwards. Like, he cannot carry it all game long. And maybe that's why he doesn't play much defense anymore. I've been talking about the lack of his defense, because his responsibility on the offensive end is so great. Xavier DeGod back in again. Let's see what he has this time for us. Do the top 10. Okay, it looks like Gary has rejoined us. Yes, Gary, let me just add him back real quick. Okay, Gary is back in. Gary, go ahead. We can unmute you. Gary, what happened? Talk to us.
Nothing exciting. The internet just dropped, but then suddenly it came back. So I'm here.
No worries, Gary. Let me read. Okay, first of all, let me just delete this one comment. There was everybody has been pretty good by and large. While you've been gone, Gary, let me just get caught up on the live chat. I'll keep taking some of these supers while you get caught up. But by and large, people have been pretty good. I just saw one that I had to delete and ban. But other than that, people have been pretty good by and large. So I'll just keep going here and you just catch up and make sure there's no shenanigans that need your immediate attention over there. But Xavier DeGod's question here, and Gary, you just give me a thumbs up when you're caught up and you can hop back in. Do the top 10 2000s NBA players of all time vid? So he's asking me to do, I did the top 10 all-time players. I did the top 15 all-time scorers, and I do have a top 15 all-time defenders that I'm eagerly going to drop here at some point soon. But a top 10 2000s vid, interesting. Maybe I will squirrel that away, Xavier. Perhaps I can do that this summer once the NBA playoffs end around, I don't know, middle June area. Okay, Hillsborough 738 is in next. What's up, Hillsborough? Another, just all of you guys. I recognize all you guys at this point. So thank you for being here. What do you think of the new tanking rules next season? Not very, I'm not very impressed, Hillsborough, to be perfectly frank with you. I'm impressed with very little that Commissioner Adam Silver does. I think he either ignores things outright, has bad ideas, or he does half measure type things. So at least he's not doing bad ideas and ignoring things outright in this case. At least he is just doing, but at least it's a half measure. But so it's the least egregious of the three options, directions that Silvers can go. But I think this is just a half measure. I don't think it gets us completely to where we want to or have to be. I think tanking is still not going to be completely ended with these new rules, but it is at least a step somewhere moving in the right direction. And he's at least identifying and accepting that there is a really bad problem. Because when you have 5 or 6 teams like intentionally just in broad daylight trying to lose every game, whatever, an eighth of your league intentionally trying to lose every game, it's a pretty freaking bad look, Hillsborough. All right, Ruthless is back in, Ruthless Raider 78. Do you count La Colostomy Bag's Walt Disney chip? I kind of myself, I think of it as a half. I count LeBron. I have LeBron at like 3.5 rings. Realistically, no, I don't think that it should count. I think it's a pathetic ring. Some people try to make the case, sniffers, mind you, that that ring is the best ring ever. I think it's the worst one. I think it's a joke ring. And by the way, Anthony Davis was like arguably the best player on that team and the most important player on the team, and the guy who wouldn't have been healthy more than likely if they didn't have 5 months off right before the tournament began. So a lot of things worked perfectly for LeBron to get that ring that year. So we can't completely just void it or take it away, but I will put like an asterisk on it, and I will count it only as like a half ring. Okay, next, Gary, go ahead.
I just wanted to go ahead and let you know I'm back. I was just trying to do this. Go ahead and introduce them.
Okay, D. Jiang is in 1498. Thank you, D. Jiang. Welcome back in to the sponsor area for you. I appreciate it. Gary, go ahead with the question or comment from D. Jiang.
If Kobe had today's spacing and rules, would he have become more efficient, or did difficult shots define his identity?
Well, he had to take difficult shots because defenses were funneled in on him. He had no spacing. His supporting cast stunk, and he had to make those difficult shots and take those difficult shots. It was an inefficient era. So if Kobe had today's spacing and today's rules, he would be much more efficient. What if I were to tell you, and I think I might do a video on this ultimately, what if I were to tell you that Kobe Bryant was above league average in true shooting percentage and effective shooting percentage for basically his entire NBA career? Because he was. And his true shooting was higher than several other like power forward, like perennial all-star caliber players that played in the same era as Kobe Bryant. So he actually was efficient for the era that he played in, especially with the volume that he shot at and the level of difficulty of shots that he took. If Kobe Bryant, with his skill set, his bag, played in today's era with the rules and the spacing, look, he would score 40 a game in a season if he wanted to. I'm not saying he would want to, but if he wanted to, He had the stamina, the endurance, the ability, and if he had the desire, he could easily, he would score 40 points per game in an NBA season. Bands Nabs 5523 is in next. Welcome in, Bands. Thanks for being here again, as always, as you typically are. Gary, what is the question or comment from Bands Nabs?
Favorite basketball jersey? Mine is 97 Utah Jazz.
Well, clearly it's 24 Lakers. Bands, come on. I'm a Kobe guy through and through. He's my favorite athlete of all time by far, and it's not close. I like 24 Kobe better than 8 Kobe, even though 8 Kobe very realistically was maybe better. 24 Kobe was more skilled, had a little more diversity in his game, but 8 Kobe was definitely more athletic. And both 8 and 2-4 defended at high levels, but 8 Kobe was like a defensive player of the year kind of guy for a couple years. And actually, point in fact, in the 2000 NBA run, Kobe was he's the only guard in NBA history. I don't want to mess this stat up, to have 30 steals and 30 blocks, I think, in an NBA playoff run. Let me just go ahead and double check that real quick. So I'm talking about the first run, the year they beat the Pacers in the NBA Finals. That year, I need totals, playoff totals. That year, Kobe Bryant had 32 steals and 32 blocks. Yes, that is the year. He is the only guard in NBA playoff history. Wrap your heads around that. Michael Jordan, Gary Payton, Marcus Smart, Kawhi Leonard, whatever. All the defensive great players we've seen that have won championships, mind you. No one in league history at the guard position has ever blocked 30 and stolen 30 in the same postseason other than Kobe Bean Bryant when he was 21 years old. So he was that guy. He was that level defender in 8. But still, 24 was my favorite because he was there was no Shaq. There was none of the BS that Shaq was all Shaq. So I really like that 24 iteration better. So the answer, Bands, is obviously 24 Kobe. Go ahead, Gary.
Bands is in the chat. He says the question is for the actual jersey, not player.
Well, I mean, I like the number 14. So, I mean, I like maybe 14 would be like 14 is one of my favorite numbers. I like the number 14. So probably 14. And then in terms of jersey, so which jersey style do I like or whatever the best? I don't know. I mean, I love the Laker jersey. Part of it is probably just because I was a Laker fan for 20 years. Part of it is because the Lakers are just the most storied team in NBA history, in my estimation. And I just like their jersey. So probably I would say 14 Lakers. 14 purple Lakers. Purple, one of my favorite colors. All right, DJing is back in again. Welcome back in, DJing. Gary, what's this next comment from them?
Do you think NBA players today still inspire the same level of fear and respect that players once had for Jordan or Kobe? If not, why is that?
No, not really. I don't think so. I don't think there's that same level where players legitimately feared, players just didn't want to say anything to these guys because they were afraid of these players humiliating them, trying to destroy them on the court. There's not that same level with guys today. I think if Victor Wembanyama can gain 30 more pounds over the next few years, by the time he's 25, 26, I think he could be a guy with his stature, his defensive abilities. But he's so thin and skinny and scrawny right now that even though he's such a great defender and a great competitor, I still don't think he necessarily elicits the same level of fear or whatever. So I think if he gains maybe 30 pounds, he could be that guy because he could just humiliate you on really both sides of the court. So I just don't think DJing guys really, The problem is they just don't take it as seriously as those guys did by and large back then. Like Kobe and Jordan wanted to humiliate you and dishearten you and destroy you. Like they would actually create and make up things and reasons as to ways they could motivate themselves to hate you more. So they could just go to that place mentally. These players today just don't have that edge or that will by and large today. There are no real alpha dudes. Like maybe one of the reasons why I do like Ant-Man is because he does have that, but he also is very immature at times and he's a bad sport too. Like Kobe was an elite competitor, but Kobe, he stayed and shook it. Like I remember when Kobe got absolutely humiliated against Boston in the NBA Finals. I think Gary might. Okay, no, he's back. I thought Gary was dropping off. When remember it was 2008 when Kobe got to the NBA Finals, played the Boston Celtics. They lost by 37 points in Game 6 in Boston. The Kevin Garnett, anything is possible. Don't you think that absolutely crushed Kobe Bryant? Like he had been working for like 3 or 4 years to get to that point where he can prove himself without Shaq and win a championship. He gets all the way to the NBA Finals. They're in a 3-2 series. They go to Boston and get obliterated by 37 points. I see footage of KG with the anything is possible and the confetti streaming down. And I've used highlights and clips of it in my editing stuff. Kobe is walking around in the confetti, shaking hands and shit with all of the Celtics players. Like he's obviously got just a look of sheer and utter disgust and whatever. Like it looks like he's dead inside, but he's on the floor getting covered in confetti, shaking, making sure he congratulates and shakes everybody's hands. Anthony Edwards is a child, and he's a terrible sport. I saw him talking shit on fans in the first round the year they beat the Nuggets. I saw him get in Nikola Jokic's face in Game 7 and yelling at fans in Denver when they won that Game 7. That classless bum with 16 points on 6 of 24 is there after he got carried. And Jokic has been abandoned by all of his teammates, and he was the best player by far on the floor. Ant Edwards is getting in Jokic's face. Like, oh, real big of you, Ant-Man. Like when your team is carrying you in that Game 7. Then the very next series, they're favored substantially to beat the Dallas Mavericks. And Luka Doncic humiliates him, just destroys him. And in Game 5, when they're getting blown out of the series and off the court, Anthony Edwards, the little child, left the court like a thief in the night with like 30 seconds left in the fourth quarter without standing and shaking anybody's hand. Classless, no character. Real easy to talk your shit and run your mouth when it's all going your way. He's a classic quintessential front runner. So like, while I like the Anthony Edwards alpha mentality that he flashes at times, like Kobe had and Jordan had, don't be a little child and an immature brat and a poor sport. If you're going to stand there and talk your shit when you're winning, then stand there and shake hands when you're losing. Like those are just some of the inconsistencies I can't stand with Anthony Edwards. Sorry to get off on another Anthony Edwards rant. And DJing, Anthony Edwards is one guy I actually think that could be feared at some point in his career. Okay, we've got Maddie Pup 100S in. What's up, Maddie? Welcome to the show. Welcome to the stream. Hopefully you're still here. We are kind of up to speed on everything now at this point. I'm kind of caught up. Gary, go ahead with Maddie Pup's question or comment.
Wemby MVPs over under -4.5.
I'd say under on that. Gary, I know you're not into the lines and betting.
I get it now. I understand. The line was more decoration. I was thinking it was, I understand. It's 4.5.
So essentially, do I think Wemby will get 5 league MVPs? I do not. I would take the under on that simply because they just won't give him that many, right? Like they like Wemanyama because he is a two-way player, because he's got a great team around him. He's going to win championships, so he's going to be winning. A lot of the reason Jokic just hasn't gotten the MVPs he should have 6, is because he's only won 1 championship. So they don't want to give, the writers don't want to give this guy 5 or 6 league MVPs and him have only 1 championship. So like if Wemby's winning titles, that's going to incentivize the writers to give him more MVPs. So I would say he will get more than Jokic. Jokic is done at 3. I think I would take Wemby at 4, but I would take him under 5. So I think Shea will get 3, maybe 4, and Wemby will get, I think, definitely 4, barring health. But I would still say not 5. 5, it's going to be hard for them to give anybody 5. They didn't even give LeBron 5. Think about how much the media loved to slurp that guy, and he didn't even get to 5. Look, 5 is rarefied air. Kareem has 6. Jordan has 5. I think Russell has 5. That's it. That's the list. Those are the dudes that have more than 4. Wilt has 4, I believe. LeBron has 4. I'm missing one. I'm missing one more with 4. Wilt and LeBron have 4. Jordan has 5. Russell has 5. Kareem has 6. No, that is it. Those are the only guys that have more than 3, actually, in NBA history. And I don't think Wemby's going to be in the 5 level. If he gets 4, that's already rarefied air. All right, Hillsborough is back in. Oh, with a very generous donation. Thank you very much, Hillsborough. I appreciate it. I appreciate it very much. Gary, what's the question or comment from Hillsborough?
Teams Ant lost to: OKC 4, Kings 3, Lakers 3, Nuggets 3, Suns 2, Warriors 2, Grizzlies 2, Mavericks 2, Knicks 1, Celtics 1, Bucks 1, Pacers 1, Cavs, Bulls, Hawks, Hornets, Nets, 76ers all 1.
Teams that Ant lost to. I'm not, Hillsborough, I'm not sure what the question, like, are you just letting us know that these are, I mean, there's some bad losses in there. There's some acceptable or understandable losses in there as well. Other than the Kings 3 times, they lost to the Kings 3 times. That's pretty bad. I mean, the Kings were trying to lose every game they played this year. Them losing 3 times to the Kings is not good at all. But I guess your point, look, I said that they need to get a higher seed line. Like, they've got to do better in the regular season. If Ant wants to be MVP consideration, and if they want to get to the next level in the playoffs, they got to be playing from a favored line and from an upper echelon seed line, not the 6th seed. So, like, to Hillsborough's point, I guess, like, don't lose to the Kings 3 times. Don't lose to the Grizzlies twice. Don't lose to the Nets. Don't lose. I mean, but so yes, I that's not a terrible point. And some of these losses you can understand, like OKC for the Nuggets, 3 losses, like those are, you know, like the losing to the Hawks had a great second half of the year run. The Celtics, the Knicks are really good. The 76ers, if their team ever plays, is good. So some of the losses not egregious or overly terrible. All right, we've got Stefan in yet again. A very prolific night from Stefan. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Gary, what is this most recent thing from Stefan?
If you had to pick a reason, why are players blowing Achilles and other things so much more these days? Gary, I only hear good things about billions.
I honestly don't know. I can't speculate. I want to get to the bottom of it. I want to do like some kind of a research video on it about the prevalence of Achilles ruptures over the years and then versus this year. It's crazy high right now, or I should say in the last like 5 or 6 years. Like, we see it in the NFL a lot now, in the NBA. Growing up, I never saw it. It's got to be either something with the way these players are training now, working out, something they're not doing, or something with their shoes. quite frankly, would have to be another theory of mine, because nothing else is lining up. Like, I hear people suggest it's the speed or pace of the game. I'm not buying that, because the speed and the pace in the 60s was even more and even higher. So I'm not lending any credibility to that. So it's going to be, and maybe when I look into it, that it's not as prevalent. Maybe it's no more as prevalent. Maybe it's just more publicized, or we're noticing it more today. Or maybe it's just the upper echelon players that are doing it more, so it's more impactful. I don't know. But I'd like to get to the bottom of it, Stefan, though, to be totally honest with you. I can't guess, other than maybe the shoes. But you would think that the shoes and the equipment are only getting better, and that it would be helping to prevent these injuries more, not causing them more. Okay, we've got next in Nibloon, maybe. Nibloon 2082. What's up? Welcome in. Thanks for being here. Thanks for the question. Gary, what is the question?
Do you have Jokic over Wemby?
I think for the first time in 6 years, Jokic has been the best player in the NBA to me. He's been the most important player, the most valuable player, and the best player. All of those things were true for 6 years. Now, for the first time in 6 years, I am questioning that. And I am questioning it with Wemanyama. If Shea wins back-to-back league MVPs, back-to-back finals MVPs, and back-to-back championships, I'm going to just have to say Shea's the best player in the NBA. I don't think that is true, but I think he will have deserved that, to have that moniker, if he does these things the rest of the way in these playoffs. But in terms of actual on-court tangible impact and ability, I still don't think Shea's close to Jokic. I do think Wemby's close. I think Jokic was hurt. I think he got hurt in the regular season. Jokic was having the best year I've ever seen before the end, 35 games before he hurt his knee. Then he came back too soon. I think he was horrible for the first month he was back, and then never really did completely regain his form after that month that he came back. And then he's got some chronic issues he's got to deal with this year in his elbow and wrist that is affecting his shooting touch down the stretch in postseasons. But anyway, you got to factor all that in me answering this question. If Jokic can't get back, then I think Wemby has surpassed him. If Jokic comes back like he was in the first 35 games this season next year, I think Jokic is still the best player. But even still, the gap is narrowing. And Wemanyama is only going to be getting better, while Jokic is coming down now because he's going to be 32 in February. Wemanyama is going to be 23 next year. So Wemby's only going to be getting better. Jokic is going to be depressing down the hill now. So it's getting close. I still think I would take Jokic in a vacuum for like 1 year. And then also Wemby's two-way impact is undeniable. Jokic is much better on offense still, much better. It's not close. But I will say this. Wemby may be closer on offense to Jokic than Jokic is to Wemby on defense, which you've got to factor that into. So for the first time in 6 years, I really am questioning it. I have to see the rest of the way of these playoffs. If Wemanyama wins the NBA championship this year, then the answer is yes, for sure. While I would waffle on calling SGA better than Jokic, even if SGA wins back-to-back, if Wemby wins the title this year at 22, surrounded by a bunch of other 22-year-olds, then the answer is yes. I've got Wemby above Jokic. But it's still pretty close, and I think I would still put, gun to my head, put Jokic above Nibloon. But it is getting close. And that's natural. Jokic is 32 years old. He's played more games than anybody in the entire NBA over the last 10 years. He gets beat to shit every game. He has had terrible supporting casts. He has to kill himself every game, all regular season and playoffs. And he's been playing more games than anybody else. So it's only natural there's going to be some slippage and some depreciation at some point. And Wembanyama, he plays 29 minutes a game and rests a lot. And he he played 46 games in 62 games or 64 games the last 2 years. So like, it's only natural that like this young freak, like Wemanyama, also keep in mind, was like the number one undisputed, like easiest slam dunk pick we've seen probably since LeBron James, like over 20 years ago. So like Wemanyama is a freak specimen physically. Jokic was the 41st pick in his own draft. So like he has had to over maximize his actual skill set and his physical abilities. So like Victor Wembanyama is a mutant. So like it's only natural as Jokic ages out that Wemby will at some point pass him. Ruthless Raider back in. I'll take this one, Gary, because last night he let me know that Zion drinks butter, and now he's letting me know that Zion uses honey mustard body wash. So I just wanted to read that one, Gary, because it's funny and Ruthless Raider cracks me up. Hillsborough is back in again, Gary. What does Hillsborough have for us this time? Gary, are you frozen or just muted? Am I frozen or mute? Am I still live, guys? Or is Gary having more issues? Someone in the live chat, let me know that I'm still on, if you can. I'm over on the live chat. I think Gary might have just dropped here again. Oh, okay, he's back. Let me just add him back on. Okay. Okay, I'm still live. Gary, you're going through it right now tonight with this internet. Go ahead. Are you okay to read this one, Gary?
The disconnection is attacking, but I'm playing Wemanyama defense and trying to hold it together. Okay, put my reading glasses on. How would you rate yourself as a hooper, hacker, shooter?
Well, first of all, Hillsborough, I haven't touched a basketball in like 8 years because I'm old. I used to play a lot, even up and through in my mid 20s. I was playing. I would hoop like 4 to 6 times a week up through like I was like 25, 26, and I was still playing a lot. So I played all through high school, college, and then into my mid 20s. But then as I got older and I had to do other things and like be a real adult and work full-time jobs and shit, I could basically play basketball or work out. So like I was like lifting weights and working out through high school, college, and in my mid-20s while playing basketball. So like I would go to the gym, like I would be like 23, 24, 25 years old. I go to the gym, lift for like an hour, then hoop for like 3 hours. Like I couldn't do that anymore, like at a certain point when I had to become like a real functioning adult in society. So it's been years because I had to make a call. Do I keep playing games and basketball and stuff, or do I keep working out, lifting, working on my aesthetic, my body, and so forth? And I picked that the second, the latter. So I haven't even touched a basketball in like 8 or 9 years. So I would rate myself horribly now. In my prime, I was my best. The best thing about me was my shot. I had a pretty unlimited range from many different places on the court, and I was fairly good athletically. I was a decent, not a great athlete, but a decent athlete. About probably like a 30-ish inch vertical leap, 28 to 32 inches, somewhere like in that range, and I'm 6'2.5" with like a 6'4" wingspan. So like I could easily dunk a basketball. Like I could dunk a basketball in games. And so with my jumper, when I had it going, I could get to the rim and use my athleticism as well. So that was pretty much and then I played very hard on the defensive side. The worst thing about me, the worst element of my game, it was for sure my handle. I did not have a good handle. And if I didn't play for a bit, if I didn't play for a few weeks or whatever, that would be the thing that would struggle and that I would lose first. And that would be most impactful and noticeable. So if I touch a ball now at this point, I don't even know what it would look like. Probably not good. I still am a decent athlete because I work out every day still, and I run and do all that stuff. So I would be able to at least from a stamina standpoint be okay, but I probably would not be able to do much else good on a basketball court. D. Jiang is in again. Thank you, D. Jiang, for your continued support here. What is the latest from them, Gary?
Ant-Man pulled a Bill Lane beer, Isaiah Thomas. Why does it feel different when Wemby humble brags compared to when LeBron tries to humble brag?
You know, that's a good question. Wemanyama like said some stuff this year. Like he was like, I don't think Jokic is the best player, even though Jokic busts his ass every time they play. Like, I want to get the numbers right. I know them. I know them roughly, but I want to get them completely. Nikola Jokic in 7 career games versus Victor Wembanyama now. 37 points per game, 11 rebounds, 9 assists. He's 5-2 head-to-head. He's been a plus in every game except for one. He was plus 14, plus 7, plus 5, minus 1, plus 7, plus 7, plus 12. So a plus 7.3 per game, plus 51 overall on him. And he's shooting 55% from the field. That's what Nikola Jokic does head-to-head against Victor Wembanyama. So he busts Wembanyama's ass when he plays him. And yet still, Wembanyama had the audacity to say he doesn't think that Jokic is the best player right now. He thinks he's the best player. But I liked it, though. I like that confidence from Wembanyama. And you're right. And Wemby said he thinks he's the MVP. And you're right. I like it. And I hate it when LeBron does that kind of stuff. And I don't know, D. Jiang. I don't know why the difference. Maybe because Wembanyama is coming from a place where it's just sheer competition, I think. Where I think it's just sheer competition and desire to like bring the best out of himself and the people that are competing against him. Whereas I think with LeBron, it's sheer hubris and ego. And he's just doing it for vanity reasons. So maybe that's why I think that there's a difference or a tangible difference to me when like Wemby was doing those things versus when Anthony Edwards and LeBron James do it. Though I think Ant-Man also is more so just out of competition. I don't think Anthony Edwards is out of ego or just trying to be cocky or whatever. I think Ant-Man too is also just like competitive and wants to like bring the best out. So like I will give Ant-Man that. And while LeBron is just sheer ego driven, I want to say.
I agree with you. And Ant, when he's getting to it with the fans, he's having fun with them. When they beat the Lakers in the round 1 last year, he actually walked back to his hotel, and there were tons of Lakers fans, and he was mixing it up with them. He was talking trash with them, but they were all laughing and having fun. And that's how Ant-Man is. Like, I don't see LeBron. Remember when the little boy ran up to LeBron for an autograph, and he shoved him away? He's like, "Don't do that." He had a stupid goat. He had a leash with a goat or something to some stupid party after they won the Olympics a year or two ago. And he was so upset by this child this 10-year-old approaching for an autograph, yelled at him as if, "Don't mess up this grand moment of me showing off my goat here." And it's just such a stupid gesture. LeBron is a jackass. He's arrogant. He thinks he's a better, superior human being than the average person. I don't think Anthony Edwards thinks like that. I think what did he say? He said his idol was Kevin Durant, right? And remember like 3 years ago when he beat the shit out of Kevin Durant in the first round? He was talking all kinds of trash, and KD was laughing because they were having fun. I mean, obviously KD didn't like losing, but he knew he lost, and he knew Ant's just having fun, and he was just laughing because there was nothing KD could do, and he knows that Anthony Edwards is not a person the same way LeBron is. I can't stand LeBron. Remember when LeBron was on Cleveland and they were beating the hell out of the Bulls, and he was like breakdancing in front of the Bulls bench, and then Joakim Noah stood up and was like waving him off, telling him to shut up, and then LeBron looked like he wanted to fight him. See, that's how LeBron is, because he thinks he's a better human being. Like Anthony Edwards, I don't think he thinks like that. And if you listen after the games, even after losses, I've seen him praise Jokic after they lost to the Nuggets. I've seen him praise Wemby after he lost to the Spurs. And when they beat the Spurs earlier this year, he was just talking about, they're like, what gets you so hyped up? And he's like, man, we're going against Wemby. And Wemby's like the same way, man. These guys want to fight against each other, but it's for fun and competitiveness, what it's supposed to be. Yes, they take it serious, but it's not because I just think I'm a better person than you. It's in the spirit of competition, and that is why I cannot stand LeBron, because he literally thinks he's better than like every other human being on the planet. And what these guys need to realize, of course you're great at basketball, but without the fans, you would be nothing. And if you don't believe me, look at the difference between the NBA and the WNBA. The only difference is that fans pay tickets to watch the NBA. If you don't have the fans, you won't be making these bloated $1 million contracts. Instead, you'll be getting thousands of dollars instead of millions.
Sorry, I just saw some news. Not Ruthless Raiders news. I'll just read Ruthless Raiders 78 real quick. Breaking news: Zion's fingers are crinkle fries. I mean, Ruthless Raider and I, we have a very similar sense of humor, obviously. I'm sorry if you guys don't think that kind of stuff is funny. Like I always say, my sense of humor is pretty sophomoric and childish. I'm not going to try to make any excuses or say that it isn't otherwise. No, I just saw some news, some somber news. Jason Collins, former NBA player, died of brain cancer at 47. So that is pretty sad breaking news I just saw on ESPN. So I just wanted to offer that. And RIP Jason Collins, and condolences obviously to his family and loved ones. Guys, that does unfortunately on a somber note bring us to an end tonight. I got to get out of here. I was excited for a early night tonight. The game started at 8. I was thinking nice early night, but another 3.5 hour night here for us in the Skap After Dark live area. Look, I love doing it. So no biggie. I love spending time with you guys and going through all the comments with you. And thank you very much for your continued generosity and also just your engagement and activity in the live chat. Most of you, that is. There are some knuckleheads out there still that I hate to see, but by and large, you guys are all great. Thank you so much for being here always. I'm going to keep doing it. I will be back tomorrow night. Whenever there's a game on, I will try my best to get on no matter what. Still working on those videos I mentioned. So I have another video I got to work on here tonight still when I get off. It's just a little bit after 2:00 on my end here on the East Coast in the US of A. I'm sure some of you guys are coming from other markets and stuff where it's not as late, but I am dragging now from back-to-back really long days. So I'm going to slide on out of here for now. Gary, thank you very much for battling through all of the internet issues and network problems there. We'll look to obviously, we'll tighten it up for tomorrow. And we will be back at it tomorrow. Same bat time, same bat channel. Until then, guys, as always, make sure you check out Gary's stuff, Gary828. Subscribe to him. Comment on some things, watch some videos for Gary, please. And make sure, as always, that you are subscribed to me with notifications on to stay up to date with all things NBA.